What's going on, guys? Emyll's next door here, and yeah, we're gonna be live streaming them again for like about, let's say, another hour or two, maybe three. Who knows? That's why I'm starting pretty early today, so I can like also end relatively early and still have the day to seize. So, with that being said, let's start the live stream. Let's start the show. Let's see, so. Sorry, guys. So I'm still getting used to, doing this shit. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing sometimes, but we out here. We're trying to make things happen. Um, no one's gonna live stream for me. There we go. Logically speaking, so let's get into it. Okay, so how does it look? All right, perfect. So once again, what's up, guys? Emyl's next door here, and we're gonna be reacting to how retail destroys your mental health. Retail horror stories. So the reason that I'm even doing this is because I used to work in a grocery store for about 4 years. No, literally 4 years. Like I got fired at the fourth year, and I'll get into why I got fired later. But it's better for us to get into this and then me comment on it than just talk for no reason and just have you guys be like, yo, can you shut up and start the video.
Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So I got a very special video for you guys today, and this is also a channel update video. I want to thank you guys for your support and helping me reach 1,096,000 subscribers. I know you guys can only see 1,090,000 on there, but that's because it updates for everyone when it ever goes 10,000 subscribers more. But on my end, I see it as 1,096,000 subscribers. So I want to thank you guys for the support. You guys are awesome. And this channel has also helped me, get through a lot of things in my life, especially being able to leave retail, which I worked in for 6 years. And this video is that video that I've been talking about for weeks on streams, where I'm going to basically talk about, my experience in retail, what I think about it, and why I don't think anybody should work in that field, at least not for long. I'll talk about some good things. I don't want the video to be completely negative, but working in retail, there's a lot of extremely negative things on there, and a lot of people think that it's this easy job, when in reality, it is a lot of bad things that you can deal with. And I want to give a thanks.
It is not easy. No, just to comment really quick, it chips at your mental health little by little. That's why it's not like a long-term thing like you think it is, until like things start creeping out of the woodwork.
To my moderators that are up on the screen here. Thank you guys for helping me to moderate my stream chat. I do greatly appreciate it. And I also want to thank everybody that supported me through Patreon, a channel membership, super chat, and super thanks since the previous channel update video. They are going to be on the screen right now. So thank you guys for the support. It does mean a lot to me. You guys help me, especially when I deal with ridiculous things like copyright, or I have a video demonetized as being non-advertiser friendly. But anyways, this video is just going to be me speaking from the heart, so I'm not going to have any edits in this video whatsoever. I'm just going to be speaking directly to you guys, just in basically one whole take. The only thing I have is I just have basically a few bulletin points on my computer that I save as things that I want to go over, but it's going to be basically everything me speaking right from the heart. So basically, retail is working in a store. Retail is any place that sells items. Going to it, typically when people think of retail, they typically think of larger superstores, but they can also be smaller. Convenience stores can also typically count as retail. And also, I guess this video will probably be relevant to people who work in grocery stores. Grocery stores, are kind of associated with retail. Not always. Grocery stores is where you get food. Retail store, it's
I worked at a grocery store, by the way, guys. So that's why it's relevant to me too. I mean, I can see why working at like a traditional retail store like Walmart, Target could be a way bigger chip to your mental health because there's way more dynamic ways to destroy it and way more ways to wring you out as a worker because, they can just put you on like completely different departments that entirely have nothing to do with food, whereas where I was working it was purely just food related. So
going to be generally where you can get like a lot of different things.
but there's still a lot of similarities from both, striking similarities from both, that I can still relate to either way.
Food is not the main focus of it. But if you work in a grocery store, or you will be able to find this video relevant. And if you work in the food industry, also like fast food, there are things that I will say in this video that I'm sure you will find relevant. And let me know also in the comments down below if you guys have any retail horror stories, because I'd love to read your comments and to reply to your comments. So anyways, I started working in retail in September. This was the very end of September, 2013, and so this is over 11 years ago. And I remember that the first time that I actually applied to the place, when I applied to the place, this was like June or July, so it was like a few months before I'd gotten hired. And I remember that the guy that I talked to, that was the boss there, the manager. This guy was like the worst manager that I've ever had in my life, which I'll talk about him a little bit later, but he basically went through the whole interview with me, and then at the end of the interview he asked me about job experience, and I told him that I've never had an official job. I've worked odd jobs. I've helped family out. I've helped clean up people's yard. I've mowed lawns for people. I've shoveled driveways for people for cash when I was a kid, but I never had like an actual job that was like directly like that, something that I take a check home. I never had that. So this is right when I was out of high school, so I was like 19 years old at the time. And the second that I said I never had a job before, he's like, "You never had a job before?" And that was just pretty much it. That was just the end of the interview. And I was a bit puzzled by that because I was getting pissed, because the thing is though is I had applied to numerous jobs before that had happened. I actually applied to a burger restaurant that my friend had gotten hired at, and that was like months before that. And he recommended me that I apply. I applied. I went in for the interview. I met the manager at a hotel, and I sat down for the interview with the manager and probably talked for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I remember it was a decently long interview. And what ends up happening is, manager tells me that they'll probably get in contact with me. I told her, like, if you decide you're not going to hire me, you'll let me know, right? And she said, "Oh yeah, I'll let you know, no problem." And what ends up happening, "You'll let me know, right?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I'll let you know, no problem." And what ends up happening is no response.
Fucking know it. I knew that they didn't call them. They're sons of bitches. I don't know how they expect you to get job experience if they don't give you job experience. It makes no fucking sense. And for a grocery store or for a freaking retail store at Walmart, what prestigious fucking degree do they want you to have? But oh no, if you're overqualified, they also don't want to hire you. Fuck off.
Nothing. Never called me back. Nothing. I just find that extremely rude. Some stuff like that. I just hate crap like that when many people do stuff like that to say they'll call you back, but they never do. But anyways, I actually talked to my friend who worked there, and that same manager walked up to my friend and said, "You have anybody else that has more job experience that could apply here?" So basically, that manager was never going to hire me after that first interview. This is a different place, the burger restaurant. The manager was never going to hire me. They were just basically trying to be nice to me in an interview, but they were never going to hire me. And that honestly pisses me off more, because I would have preferred for.
That's like somebody who like strings you in like not even like a relationship. Like you want to be in a relationship, you're dating that person, and they just string you along, and their excuse that they were trying to be nice is like, that's not nice. That's you just being fake as fuck. What the hell? That's the opposite of being nice. Like, it's better to reject me. Same thing here. If you're applying for a job, just reject me, bro. Like straight up, to not waste my time or my feelings. Like, what the fuck?
for them to just tell me in the interview, I don't think you're the right fit for this job. That's it. Don't waste my time. Don't get me excited and then tell me that you're going to call me. You're going to call me afterwards. But no, that was it. I got pissed at that, and then I got pissed at that interview that I'm telling you guys, the one in retail where the manager got pissed about job experience. And what I'm going to rant about here basically is how a lot of these places, they require so much job experience, which is like, what the hell? It's like I was applying to be, to be a cashier at a burger restaurant, and now I was applying to, be basically a store associate at a retail place, and it's like literally like it's like some fancy job for them. You need all this job experience for just something that's going to be simple to do. I don't get it why they were so obsessed with job experience. But then, a few months after that, September, he hired me, and I went in for the training, and he told me he's going to give me a chance. Now, the thing about this is, let's start out talking about the training. So when you go to most retail places, they're going to have you take basically a training class. And I'm going to tell you guys something about the training class. Mm-hmm. The training class is a complete waste of time, and it's a complete joke, and it's just completely stupid, the whole training class, because I had learned literally it's a complete about the training class. The training class is a complete waste of time, and it's a complete joke, and it's just completely stupid, the whole.
Yes, it is. Just to talk briefly on it, yes, it is, because really, honestly, the only thing that the training videos and the training at before you even start working, like the orientation, 5 hour or so, or a couple of hours training, it's just stressing customer service and excellent customer service and what to do in situations for customer service, and that's it. Like, not actually anything about the disgusting hardship that you're gonna experience from grabbing cards and dealing with crazy ass people. They'll tell you very lightly, very over the surface about what to do in a situation with somebody that isn't working out with you. It's like, oh, just get the manager. But it's like it's not that easy. You just sometimes when you just get fed up with it, you just automatically get the manager, and they get even more mad. And it's because that's literally the psychology of those crazy ass people that are trying to get the rise out of you, or get the rise, or make them feel better from making someone get mad because they feel like shit, and get even more mad when you call the manager and get the manager instantly when they don't even ask for it because they haven't said that part of the script yet, or when you try to handle the situation, they just slowly get mad, just not instantly get mad when you decide to get the manager instead, and you can't fix the situation. And when you get enough of those situations happening to you, plus the things that the managers do, and whatever else that this guy will get into, so we can continue the video, it just chips away at your mental health.
Training class, because I had learned literally 100% of everything I had learned on the job. I did not learn at that training class. That training class, what it basically was just you sitting down there for 5 hours, and it was just them talking about how to be nice to customers. That was just it. It was like the whole thing was hours and hours just talking about customer service. It was just stressing good customer service. That was it, which, I know what good customer service is. And when I actually started working there, they taught me that too as well. But they didn't teach you anything about the tasks you would be doing. They didn't teach you anything about the register. They didn't teach you anything about the computers. Didn't teach you anything about the store. The only thing they basically taught you about, they gave you a little history of the company and just basically telling you about customer service for 5 hours. None of that helped me out there. It's just a waste of time. At least you get paid for the training, but that's it. You take the training, and once you take the training, you're done with it. Then you're gonna have your first shift on duty, and usually they're gonna schedule you very early as your first shift. Right when the store opens to basically teach you some of the things. And the first day, the first and second day that I worked there, I met this one coworker. She was nice, and she taught me to use the register. Showed me, the ins and outs of how to use the register, everything. The only thing she didn't get the chance to show me was returns, which I'll actually talk about that a little bit later. But basically, it was just a few customers would come in, she'd help me out, teach me how to use the register, and that was just it. What ended up happening is later in the day, the store got so packed. There was just so many customers, so many, and it was just me and this girl just ringing the entire day. And we had 2 extra registers, so we had 4 registers in total, and I was just completely overwhelmed by that many people were just coming in and this is my first day on the job, and I've got this many people to ring up already. And I was hoping that we'd at least have one more person ringing up, just have 2 cashiers for the whole store. But the situation actually gets much worse later on.
They literally.
I don't want, like I said, I don't want this video to be all completely negative. Ringing up, just have 2 cashiers for the whole store. But the situation actually gets much worse later on. Now, and I was just this girl just ringing the entire day, and we had 2 extra registers, so we had 4 registers in total, and I was just completely overwhelmed by that many people were just coming in, and this is my first day on the job, and I've got this many people to ring up already. And I was hoping that we'd at least have one more person ringing up, just have 2 cashiers for the whole.
That's exactly what they'll do to you, though. They'll just leave straight up 1 or 2 like cashier lanes open, and that's it for a whole store. It's like, bro, even at a Publix where it's like a lot smaller than even a small Walmart, still they'll be like 8 lanes, 8 cashier lanes, and you're only gonna have 2 open. Like, bro, you're cutting your shit to 25% efficiency. Like, I understand you can't be at 100 efficiency because neither can be a computer, because that would be just overclocking a computer all the time, and that's not good either when it's unnecessary. Like, you're just spending money on people that don't need to be there. And even if you could theoretically have all of them open to have people, if it's not rush hour, it really doesn't make sense to have most or even all of them open. But to have only 2 on rush hour open, like, that is very irresponsible and fucked up.
Whole store, but the situation actually gets much worse later on. Now, I don't want, like I said, I don't want this video to be all completely negative. But the good thing that I will say about retail, there are 2 good things about retail. The 2 good ththings are that it's a fast-paced environment, and
Just 2 things. And yes, it is a fast-paced environment.
this can be both a bad and a good thing. But the plus of being a fast-paced environment is that you learn how to multitask. You learn how to do multiple tasks at once and how to do stuff pretty quickly. That is, I learned how to multitask pretty efficiently, and I would have a good part to thank for it from retail. The second good thing is that you can make good friends there. Now, there are people that say that, oh, your coworkers are not your friends. I don't agree with that. It depends. I would say
you can exactly. It depends. You can make some genuinely amazing people there, make friends and connections 100%, because I have, and I still have them as friends, even like months after like not working there. But like, for the most part, it's not a setting that's meant to make friends because it's work. But you can make friends at work. The fuck?
Coworkers are your friends. That's what I would say about that. Because like when people say coworkers are not your friends, that's assuming that everybody's out there to screw you over, which that's not a good attitude to go into it with. Now, there are people that obviously you cannot trust. Your coworker.
I have had like times where I've gotten screwed over by coworkers, not thinking about it in hindsight, where I'm like, oh, how did that happen? But like, obviously I'm stupid, and that's why that happened. But but that happened very few and far in between to me than me judging pretty much all the other people and knowing like, oh, if I can either talk to them in one way or another way.
It's like, if you're pissed off at a boss or something like that, and your boss is being a scumbag, there are people that you cannot trust, to tell them stuff like that, because they will basically snitch on you to the boss and they'll get you in trouble. But there are, other coworkers that will like, open up to you, they'll tell you about, things that personally piss them off, they'll get to know you, they'll have your back, they will help you out when you help them out. And when you need help, they come and help you out. So there are people that I have met in retail that I still consider friends, and I actually have some of their phone numbers. So I still actually occasionally text some of the people that I work with in retail. I don't really hang out with much of them, but we're still on a friendly basis. There are other people that I literally have no contact with, that I'm not on a friendly basis with. Some other really rude and nasty coworkers and supervisors that I met over the years. But basically, is there are a few coworkers that I still talk to. They'll probably actually end up watching this video. But 2 of my coworkers, they actually got married. So 2 of the coworkers that I worked with, they actually they were actually dating before they both applied at the place, but then they ended up getting married later, and they actually invited me to their wedding. Very nice people, and I always loved working with them. They were both supervisors, and they were both They were both professional people. They were both great. They always had your back. They would always help you out with it. And if a customer was being rude to you, they would stand up for you. So when people say, for example, that your coworkers are not your friends, I don't necessarily agree with that. What I would use the term is some coworkers are your friends, some are not. That's what I would just say to it. So if you work with somebody over the years, you will know who's your friend, who's not. You'll just eventually figure it out. But anyways, starting off with working in retail. So when I was telling you guys how I basically got overwhelmed the first day, the second day that I was working, I was basically expected to man the register by myself.
Personally, if it never really happened to me like that straight up in my face, but if I were like where I was normally just bagging, and if let's say on like the lane to my left or right, a way younger, newer worker was getting a hard time by like a piece of shit customer, what I would do is like get one of my other friend coworkers that are near me that are obviously from the same department as me, and I'll be like, bro, like go get the manager and grab the kid when I get in front of the kid, in between the kid and the customer, for me to try to like tag team for her, because or for him, because that's unfair as fuck what this customer is doing to this poor kid, and we need a manager here to fucking just deal with this bullshit. All right, so go do it instantly. So like freaking choreographed shit, we both go walking, freaking I get in between, and like if the freaking because if the freaking uh I'm sorry, my brain, if the client, the customer gets mad, well, so be it, bro. Like I'm just gonna take the brunt of like bullshit that I don't even give a fuck about that's coming out of their mouth to make them feel better, while they're getting the manager really quick and getting the kid out of the way. You feel me? Because that's my point. My prerogative is to get the kid out of the way from this crazy ass person, and me just being a temporary shield until I look to my side and I see the manager walking, and I'm like right here, and then just like I walk out, and that's it. Like that's what I would do, because the fuck, like that's disgusting. I remember my first day in my grocery store that I started at. I was it the no, it wasn't the first day. It was the first week, but it was like I think the third time I worked there that I went there physically after the orientation and everything, and it was like one of these regular crazy lady that was coming to our store, that she was like this 5'1" lady that was kind of like a little hunchback, uh, Latina, maybe like Nicaraguense lady that like would be, it's like always like super fucking pissed off and walking through the entire store. Like she'll be in the store for like 2 hours type shit, just going at a snail's pace, looking at everything. And then finally, when she gets to the goddamn cashier lane, like she starts putting things like, on the belt like meticulously, or like I don't even remember if she was even putting meticulously or she was just throwing it on the belt. Regardless, either way, like why do you want such excellence? One way, if you're OCD and you're putting it perfect, then you expect excellence, do it yourself. But if you just throw it like fucking hoarders on there, and then you expect someone to figure it out, make it look beautiful, like you're a piece of shit. Like what the fuck? And either way, this lady wanted her fucking stuff to be double bagged inside of those cardboard bags that are like large, and have it be inside, not put the plastic bag inside. No, you want the paper bag that's bigger to be inside of the fucking plastic. So I would do, after not understanding what she wanted, because okay, I was trying to understand fully what she was saying and try to be nice, because she's older and she's speaking at a lower tone with a completely different accent for in Spanish than from what I'm used to, because I'm Cuban and she's from a completely different Latin American country. So I didn't really understand what she was really saying or wanting. So I'm trying to be very nice and considerate and slow and gentle. And then she snaps at me. she starts screaming at me that I don't understand what the hell I'm doing, and then giving me a really hard time and screaming at my face, and then jumping to conclusions and blah blah blah, talking really fast and fucking like being this big ass monster when she's like literally 5'1" and fucking treating me this way. And I got so like caught off guard and so flustered, and my face and my blood pressure got so high, and my face radiated like how hot it got. And I can imagine my face was visibly red too. I can imagine my face was visibly red too, because bro, I felt that shit, and it was so quick, and it was a rise like that, and it was like, bro, like it got to a point where I was trying to like talk to her while that was happening to me, that like sympathetic reaction, and this lady kept on screaming, and I snapped. I was like, okay, like I kind of like yelled it out, and I just walked off, and I just like essentially basically I was about to walk outside. I should have walked outside. I should have even stayed inside of the store, but I did. And then everybody was just staring at me, every freaking worker and like pretty much client too, every customer. And it's because, bro, like I was 17 years old, and this old ass lady is just freaking treating people like that for no reason. And then she was a regular too, like I said, so she would come to the store like at least once a week. And it was like whenever, wherever she was, I would fucking go away, never even look at her, ever talk to her ever again. But it was like just anybody she would talk to, it was like that. Later on, that's what a worker that I was like chill with told me, was that she was, a regular Karen piece of shit that would come over and just essentially give people a hard time for no fucking reason, because she's an old bag.
And when I say by myself, I mean I was the only register open. There was no other registers open. This was an afternoon shift, so it was a little less packed, but I was the only register open. There are 3 other registers. I was the only register open. And this happens. Places are constantly short-staffed, which I'll talk about the short staffing a little bit later. It's a little point that I want to talk about later on. But that's ridiculous, is that you got a new guy that's working on his second day in the job, and you leave him by himself basically on the register when he's packs and packs of people are just constantly coming in.
Right.
And you have a phone which you can basically, go on the intercom and you can call people up and you can tell them, I need help, I need backup. But the thing about that is that gets frustrating, because what happens is the line already starts building up, and you call your coworker, I need backup. They come all
Well, that's one thing we didn't have in our grocery store. We didn't have a phone to call for backup directly in the fucking like each lane, which which I feel like that's even more frustrating. Like having to walk to the phone that was on the wall, because we only had like, that's what we had. We had sporadic phones on the wall, so we have maybe like a total of like 4 or 5 of them that like we could theoretically use around the whole store. But for our department, there's practically one. There was just one. It's ridiculous for 8 fucking lanes.
way across the store, help you out, and then just a few minutes later, a line builds up again. And they have to drop what they're doing, and they have to keep coming back. Wouldn't it make much more sense to instead have 2 coworkers, 2 people at least minimal on registers?
Yeah.
But the fact is that they just leave one guy up on the register by himself, and there's a lot of places like this. And I realize just how cheap and greedy these companies are, because I was aware of corporate greed when I was 19. Don't get me wrong, but when I was working in retail, that really opened my eyes to it. Because what happens is, one of my coworkers, remember, he wasn't like a supervisor, but he was a bit rude at times. He comes up to the register on that second day, and he basically puts the vacuum like right in front of the register, and he's like, "Here's a vacuum pad." And I said to him, are you gonna use the register? Are you gonna ring while I vacuum? And he just basically points at me and says, no, you're going to use the register and you're gonna vacuum. What? It's like, I'm already getting overwhelmed with customers, constantly coming up here. And now you expect me to basically get out here. I have to vacuum the entire front of the store. So the entire front of the store, I have to go down like, 6 or 7 aisles, vacuuming all of those, and I got to keep constantly on the lookout for people on the register. And the thing about this is, when you're vacuuming and you get distracted, the vacuum, the noise of it, you don't hear people that are up at the register, and a line starts building up and they get pissed. And so you got to vacuum a little bit. You got to run back to
And be like running back to like check manually to make sure like it's a fucking video game or something, bro. But it's real life, and they'll actually fire you. Like it's ridiculous. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like bringing you out. Like you just do shit that makes no fucking sense. And it's part of your job description, yeah, but it makes no sense. Like, how do you expect me to vacuum and fucking ring people at the same time, running like a fucking cycle, and there's only one person at the register? Like, come
the
on.
register, ring a few people up, and then what you do is you get out of the register, run back to the vacuum. The second you get back to the vacuum, you vacuum for less than 10 seconds, and you see a line starts building up, and you start running back and forth. Wouldn't it just be much more productive, and wouldn't it make much more sense if you just had literally one guy on the register and one guy vacuuming? Then if you're going to be that cheap and you don't even want to have two people ringing, then wouldn't it at least make more sense to at least have one guy on register without him moving at all, just so he can have a steady flow of customers, keep ringing people up, and then have that person that's vacuuming? Isn't that much more effective? Well, it's just the way these companies basically look at it is they basically think, oh, we can have one guy do the job of 4 people. That's the way these companies think. They're like, why should we have a guy ringing and a guy doing vacuuming when we can have one guy doing both? And we can schedule one less person on that and save on hours. That is basically the entire corporate mindset. And another thing I'll tell you about the corporate mindset here is, and this is a problem also, is this is a thing that I will say is part of also American culture. Now, I love my country. I love the United States. There's not anywhere else that I would want to live other than the United States.
Me too.
I'm not hating on any other country. I'm just saying that I just love my country
I
here.
love other countries too, and I'm not hating on my country either. But like just this American corporate mindset of like just like doing the most bare minimum to help the employee and just doing the maximum to fill your pockets, it is just the most disgusting. And then having those interactions between like physically you have to work in that, like that dynamic also sucks when you have a shitty manager. Like,
and I could not imagine myself.
Like I loved my store manager for where I worked at. He was the bomb. I love that man. Like he is like a best friend that you could talk about mushrooms and smoking weed and playing video games and chilling out. Like he was amazing, bro. I fucked with that man. That's why when he had to fire me, it like was bittersweet, really. Even though like, like whatever, bro. I hated the place, but he was great, and it kind of was justified why I got fired. But if I would have gotten fired by the manager that I fucking despise, that he used to be the team leader for the original store that I used to work at, oh my god, I would have just like straight up, I would have told that man to go fuck himself, 100% right there, to go fuck off. That you're a corporate piece of shit. You expect so much, and then think that you're being fair. Like, go fuck yourself. You're a loser. Like, no wonder you didn't go to college. Like, because you just want to be a manager, big guy. Like, go fuck yourself, all right? Like, honestly, era para decirle todo eso and even more, bro. Like, just write a I have a dream speech, but a big fuck you to him. I swear.
Moving to any other country. But anyways, what I'm getting at here is one thing that I really hate about American culture, one thing that I really don't like is I don't like that this ties directly into the retail business is if you are a foreigner, if you are not an American, and if you're from Europe, for example, if you have ever visited America and you've walked into a store, have you noticed anything different about the stores in America compared to most European stores? The difference is very obvious. It's that cashiers don't sit. That's right. And the thing is, though, is when I tell a lot of my non-American viewers about this, they're very surprised about this on streams. They had no idea that this was a thing. But yes, in pretty much all 50 states in America, cashiers largely don't sit. There are a few companies, maybe like
when I went overseas to like with my parents to Spain, Portugal, and any other country that I can remember right now on the top of my head, the Canary Islands and stuff like all those stores and shit, the people sit down in the grocery stores, the Aldi's, the Kroger's, all that shit. It's crazy.
Not a lot that let their cashiers sit maybe on a stool, but the vast majority of companies do not let their workers sit. And you're probably thinking, why don't they let their workers sit? The reason they don't let their workers sit is because in American culture, it is actually seen as a form of laziness. If you
Yeah,
are at the register and you are sitting down, it is seen as a form of laziness. That's just the way it is in
form of
American culture. I
laziness,
can't explain
exactly.
it. I know
Like
it's stupid.
you're comfortable, you're too comfortable here in the computer doing your job that you can do completely sitting down. No, stand up. That's literally how it is. And since I'm an American, we're American, me and this guy and most of the people watching this video would be like, okay, well, yeah, it's normal. We've always lived and been raised like going to grocery stores or working at a grocery store and being and seeing the cashier and working and being the cashier and seeing them standing up. But then when you go to overseas as an American, you see that you're like, what the fuck? Like that's insane. Like that's awesome. Like literally, it doesn't make a difference. Why don't we have that? Like literally, and then when it's the flip side and it's like a foreigner coming over here and they see that they're like, this literally makes no sense. Like, yeah, it really does not.
But for people that are saying that's dumb, professional, I know it's dumb, but that's the way it is. It's just corporate looks at that and they basically think that that's laziness, which you can do your entire job sitting down. You don't have to kill your back. And I can clean the registers. I can stock behind the registers. I can use the registers. No problem sitting down. I don't see why I have to stand up. The only time you're allowed to sit down is if you have a medical condition, if you have a note from a doctor.
Yeah.
That's the only time you can sit down. And that's why I say I would rather walk on the floor and be unboxing stuff than actually be at the register. Because working on a register is actually destroying your health more than unboxing on the.
That's why I couldn't I didn't want to completely commit to becoming a cashier when I was a bagger. Like I really didn't want to. Because in my specific place where I worked at, you can be there's a bagger position and a cashier position. So the bagger position is lower than the cashier position, and then the janitor or custodian is lower than that too. But then the piece of shit manager that I was talking about that I mentioned earlier, he fused the two because he fucking felt like it because it was part of what this guy is talking about the mindset of just ringing out and the laziness, but then they can be in their fucking office sitting down all day jerking off even though they're doing their job. But it's like, why can't the cashier sit down when they can do their job sitting down? Like something simple like that. Just that. I'm not even talking about you making us wanting to do like 10 different things at the same time, like he already mentioned. But just that in of itself, that was the answer for why I didn't want to commit to being a cashier. Because bro, when you're a bagger and walking around, it's not as bad on your back, or it's not really bad on your back at all, and it's like more of a constant workout, steady workout, kind of like a marathon. Because I would walk or a mini marathon, because I would walk like upwards of like from anywhere of 7 to 12 miles at work in just that little complex. That's like maybe what, like 1 to 2 acres, and you only walk like about an acre of that space max. And yeah, I would make that much. But when you're walking, like it's way more of like a steady workout, so it's not really killing you. But when you're just standing in the same position for hours and hours and hours and hours and just moving only your upper body this way and just standing, it just destroys your fucking lower back slash your hips. Like it's just done, bro. And that's why I would try to walk around as much as possible, lapping around the fucking thing, around the thing. But then they'll see me like doing that, and then I had to quickly stop doing that when I first started like doing cashier stuff, because then they think you're again being lazy when it's like, no, my back is dead. Or if we were filled with people, then obviously you can't, I didn't have a chance to walk around or help my back. So like in between like people, I would say I'm sorry, but I would need to like crouch in between, like after doing like 10 people, after being in the cashier, uh after being a cashier for an hour straight. Because I wasn't even a cashier. That's the thing. My title wasn't even being a cashier, and like supposedly their excuse was that I was training to be a cashier. So I was a bagger being paid bagger money while doing all of that cashier shit, and then I'm like an hour in doing all the cashiering stuff without any help or anything, and my back is just dying. So I would just crouch all the way down, just crouch, and be like, oh my god, and be like, I'm sorry. to the customer because my bag is just done. And if they come at me telling me I'm being rude or something like that, it's like, look, like I'll literally in front of the customers be fucking saying what's going on, because that's actually fucked up, and talk to some like human resources or some shit, because I'm lucky that my dad works in law firms and he knows a lot about law.
Floor that day. The reason
Without being
is
a
because
lawyer.
when you're unboxing stuff, you're constantly moving. But when you're on register, you're going to be standing in the same place. And the vacuuming thing does not count because that's basically just running back and forth there and there. And you're stressed out over that. When you're unboxing something, you're unboxing in one aisle, you go to another aisle, you're constantly on the move. But if you're at the register, especially if it's like rush hour, like, so many customers are coming in constantly, and you got a 9-hour shift, imagine standing up there for 8.5 hours, because we had a half an hour break, or I think you get a 15.5 hour with a 9-hour in New York. But that was it. So imagine just standing up there for 8 hours. That's going to basically make your joints hurt, and it's going to make your back hurt. It's just not good. It's just generally better to just sit. If you can do your job sitting, why not? Imagine like telling people at like in offices, oh, you gotta stand at your computer. How stupid would that be? But that's basically is the mindset. I don't understand why cashiers are not allowed to sit. So I always hated that. I hated that. Coming in there, working for hours. I always much rather be on the floor. I hated working on the register because of that, because you just stand in the same spot, or if you even if you do move on the register, it's moving for something stupid like vacuuming, or stocking the shelves in the front, and you're constantly going back and forth. It's like my God, just let me sit down, just be at the register. That's it. Now, second thing that I'm going to go over here is this is tying into the coworkers. Now, the coworkers, this can be a hit or a miss. You can you can get really lucky, and you can encounter have a really good store with great manager, great supervisor, great coworkers, or you can have a store that's where it's a complete disaster, where everybody's basically a scumbag, including the other cashiers, and or you can have basically a store where it's just a mix of both, which is basically my stores, a mix of both scumbags and good people. But what I'll tell you is I remember the bad things that people did way more than the good things, because I guess it's just a really bad experience you just can't get out of your head. But I'm going to tell this is the call outs. My God, is the call outs. This is just, oh my God. For people that don't know what a call out is, a call out
when you call out of work, when you're like, oh shit, like you're scheduled and you have to call out. So yeah,
is basically when somebody does not show up to work. They're supposed to be working that day. Oftentimes they will call at the last minute, or sometimes they might even call at all. They just won't show up to work. So you have these people, they just will not show up to work. They just won't come into work. And it just gets really frustrating. And the reason it gets really frustrating is because when you're working that day, you're basically shorthanded at that point. You have one less person.
Damn it, guys! My freaking chair just decided to just unravel itself. This is kind of annoying.
That is sorry about that. I think my camera was shaking here a tiny bit. Okay. Yeah, sorry, just moved my table a little bit. But anyways, what I was saying is let's say that it is, midday, right? It's midday, and midday is the worst time when the most amount of people come in at midday.
Yeah.
And basically you have a coworker that basically calls out.
Because it's lunch. So for me, I would get filled with EMT, doctors, nurses, a bunch of people from offices, regular people, regular just daytime jobs coming there, just like tsunami waves.
An hour before their shift.
And that's obviously the first rush, and that's the first of I'll say maybe 3.
Can't come into work today. You have something like that happen, and what that's going to do is now all of those other coworkers that are working are not going to be able to get their tasks done, and they're going to have all these extra customers to deal with. And the ridiculous thing is management will go after you for that. So if you actually don't finish your tasks because you were actually short-handed or short-staffed, the management will actually go after you. They'll say, why didn't you finish these tasks? And they will constantly criticize you. These call-outs, I've just had so much bad experience with them, because remember when I started working there that first month, I was supposed to be working there 4 days, 3 days in 1 week. And I worked 3 or 4 days straight. And what ends up happening is the next 3 days, I ended up covering those days because people just did not come to work. Now, look, I'm not saying there aren't emergencies. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. If you're sick, if if you can't come into work, I fully get that. I understand that. I'm not criticizing people for that. But what I'm getting pissed about is people would repeatedly do it over and over and over again. There was people who called out like literally 30 times in like 1 year or more. I'm not joking on that.
Okay.
So people would just repeatedly do it over and over and over again. And that's what got so frustrating about this stuff. So you would have people that would constantly call out. I was working
because they stress for you to check the binder so you know what the fuck's going on. But while I'm checking the binder for like my stuff, the binder is for like everybody. So they check everybody's name is like in a top down list and all their like things that they have to do plus like their lunch times / breaks and like their end time, like their clock out time. And what they have to do if they're closing, if it's like the second shifts, so like the night shifts, like what they're doing on the close before the closing time time is, or like while they're closing or after they're closing, what they're doing, what their task is during that closing time period at the end. And I would always see like repeatedly like at least one specific person that just would call out. Well, obviously with public, since they're kind of like a little bit like uptight with that shit, they'll just kind of like cut you off. But like a lot of times it would be just kind of the same people, bro, just calling out on the fucking worst days where it's like the most packed and the most like annoying ending task to do possible. And then since you're not here now, other people have to do those tasks as well.
That day, 3, 4 days. And what ends up happening is I end up covering an extra 3 shifts. So, now at this point, I'm working, 6 days straight. And that's those other 3 days that I covered was people just didn't show up to work. And what ends up happening is,
And do you think you get paid for that? No.
the 7th day, finally I have a day off after working 6 days straight, is I made plans to hang out with my friends.
Like you get paid like your shit. I mean, like do you get paid double because you did somebody else's job? Like no, no, you don't. Do you get anything extra? No.
And guess what ends up happening is my phone starts ringing, and it is my manager who is calling me.
If anything, they get mad that it's like, oh, what? You covered somebody else's thing and you're already doing 2 things and you didn't even and you finished their thing, or you finished your thing but not theirs, or you finished theirs but not yours, and you were still doing something else and you didn't finish all 3 as one person. What? And it's like you almost feel like you want to kill that person. You want to kill the manager. Like in that moment, it's like, yo, I'm gonna get life in prison.
And my manager basically says, Patrick, I need you to come in. Somebody didn't come in right now. And it's never, oh, Patrick, can you please come in? You'll do me a big favor. I'll owe you for this one. Nope, it's never that. It's always, Patrick, I need you to come in on your day off. And this is what happens is these places, they guilt trip you. So literally, it is your day off. You are not responsible for that day. Somebody else decided not to show up.
And so whenever that shit's happening, what I just explained, and potentially like that same shit that I just explained, but you actually didn't work that day and they're calling you, like at the beginning, like the first 2 years that I worked at the grocery store, I would pick up the phone and I would come and I would just feel like shit having to come over there because it's like, bro, if I'm not scheduled and you guys didn't figure it out, you guys are the managers, how are you managing it this way by fucking over somebody else? Like what? Like you're giving me an extra day and I'm making money, but it's like all the added ringing out and stress and bullshit does not get compensated at all by just simply making $12 an hour. All right, $11 an hour. This is just bullshit.
To work, and now they are basically.
So I ended up not picking up the phone anymore. So whenever like that, you couldn't. I know, and then that makes me unreliable, and maybe that's why it constitutes with me getting less like scheduled less hours weekly on top of being part time. But it's like fuck you, bro. Like you expect so much, and you guys don't give a fuck about your workers.
Management is guilt tripping you to basically come in on your day off.
It's a guilt trip. It's always a guilt trip. They're like, you can do us a favor and please come in. And it's not a favor. It's literally just getting fucked in the ass.
And that's basically what it's happened to me so many times where I got guilt tripped by management when I couldn't come in. I didn't want to come in. I had a day off. I didn't feel like coming into work. It was not a day I was supposed to be called in, and they guilt trip you. They're like, oh, we're really busy. We need help right now. They will just spam you with multiple messages. They'll tell you, they'll argue with you on the phone. And my manager, says, Patrick, I need you to come in. I tell him I made plans with my friends. And he tells me, oh, just cancel them. And I said to him, no. I'm literally, today's my day off. I literally covered 3 extra days.
How about you cancel your shit when you're off, you fucking asshole? The hell? No, I gotta go golfing. No, I gotta go snorkeling with my friends.
I'm not coming in today. Today I'm not scheduled to work, and it's not my responsibility to come in today. And what does the manager say to me? You know what he says to me? He says to me, you suck, and just hangs up on me. That's what he did. It's like, and like, I covered 3 shifts in this week for this guy. This guy.
I would call it resources right there, bro. What the fuck? No, they've never spoke to me genuinely like that. Like they've never genuinely said some shit like that. And I bet that's just the tip of the iceberg for the shit that he is gonna talk about here in this whole video.
I should have been grateful. He could have been thinking, Patrick already covered 3 shifts for me. Maybe I'll bother somebody else. No, it was that. Right. So literally, I covered 3 shifts for him, and he insults me like that. It's like, why don't you?
Well, that's I guess a big problem due to really big stores. Like with really big stores, plus a piece of shit manager, they have a way bigger probability of just letting some shit, a one-liner like that, slip out to a person that obviously it's not a person who sucks because he fucking did a bunch of shit already and he's not considerate about it. And so they're not considerate about what he's done. And then it's a bigger store, so there's more problems than there would be in let's just say a grocery store. So they overlook the shit that you do. And then they just look at the shit that you can't do for them or that you don't do, which isn't even part of your shit, but you still suck. And that shit that you did extra is invalidated or it doesn't exist.
After the people and, insult the people who are not showing up to work. Why don't you do that? But instead, you go after the person that is covering all your shifts. And this is what my father told me. My father told me that in almost every single job environment is management, whether it's retail or office or whatever the hell it is, any kind of job environment, is management will go after the people who are doing hard work. So the people that are lazy, oftentimes management doesn't do anything about them because those people are going to be lazy. They're not going to care what management is going to say to them. So management is going to generally harass the people that are working hard. So it's not fair to the people who are working hard. And these people who are constantly calling out, management would rarely, criticize them, would rarely, say to them.
I knew it, bro. I always thought, would they ever, get their comeuppance, so I would say? Would they ever get anything said to them by the managers? And I always felt like they didn't, bro. And I guess that's what it was. I guess maybe they'll just get eventually fired, but they never got shit for it.
You can't.
The person that does everything gets all the fucking shit for it. Makes no sense. I would always get so infuriated, so fucking angry. I don't know how I didn't get a heart attack, me working there. Not only because of the stress from getting so angry from so many dynamic ways, I want to say, from different stimuli making you just stressed and angry, to my heart actually accelerating like crazy and pumping like crazy because of the physical task that I'm doing myself. I would be wearing long sleeve polyester fucking sleeves because you would be thinking, why am I doing that in Miami? Well, because I know there's humidity and I know it's hot as fuck, and this is one of those garages that are completely closed and it's different levels that the cars have to zigzag corkscrew go to the different floors, and so it's like a freaking oven. What are you doing wearing that long sleeve? But to that I say that I was trying to I guess hide away from myself. I wasn't trying to expose all my body like that. I was just trying to be as low key as possible by wearing as much covering as possible. And then we also have a shit ton of mosquitoes, especially by the store that I was working at, because we're by the river. So there was a lot of fucking mosquitoes there too. So every day when I'm sweating like crazy, just mosquitoes looming all over, I'll just wear my long sleeves and always be on the move, and I wouldn't get bit. But then the days that I would be wearing the regular sleeves, I would obviously get fucked. But whatever.
You can't do stuff like that. It was always going after the people that are working hard, which that just pissed me off. Is the amount of call outs. It was just getting.
Oh, I forgot I lost my train of thought. So basically what I was going on with that is that my heart would, due to all like the heat and the hot box oven feel from the specific type of garage, plus the Miami heat, and me wearing this type of like long sleeve polyester clothing, and all that added stress and moving fast as fuck, my heart rate on my Apple Watch would say that it would reach upwards of like 170 beats per minute BPM, which that's literally about to be 3 beats a second. So I don't know how I didn't fucking get a heart attack and just die of flatline due to everything. I don't know. I literally don't know. I think it's because of all the weed I would smoke, bro. I would smoke so much fucking weed, bro. So much weed during those shifts. Like, that's the only way I would get through it. Like, if not, I would have actually lashed out at somebody and I would have told them to fuck off, and I would have got fired on like 2 years early.
Absolutely ridiculous. And what ended up happening is, one thing that I got a bit pissed about. One thing that I got a bit annoyed about is that there was this one person that I worked with who they would call out numerous times, like numerous times. And I'm suspecting that the manager at that time, that the manager was somewhat more friendly with them. I don't know, the whole specifics of that. I'm not saying any relationship stuff or like, but they generally like them. Like they're the management has favoritism. There are people that they like and they don't like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to do with how hard of a worker you are.
Exactly.
So there are people that will get, better
there's no
work.
favoritism,
You'll
but
get
there is.
easier jobs to do at work. It won't always be divided up equally. And there are people who will be basically thrown more. And so what ends up happening is there's this one coworker of mine who they called out so many times. It was ridiculous. And what would happen is I would have the manager basically, call me, text me, and I would cover so many shifts on just days off. And I know what people are going to tell me in the comments. They're going to tell me, professionally, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have agreed to it. I know I should not have agreed to it. I understand that now. I am, a changed person. But back then, I didn't know how to tell people no. And so people would always take advantage of me. I didn't know how to tell them no. And I would constantly get guilt tripped to basically come in on my day off. I should not have even answered the phone. I should not have even replied. And I basically say, I don't answer the phone when I am not working. But basically, there was this one coworker that I had. They would constantly call out over and over and over again. And I would get guilt tripped to come in on my days off to cover their shift. Now, what ended up happening is one day it happened again. And this is, numerous times. And I told the manager, I want to talk to you before I start my shift. I'll come in a little earlier, but I want to talk to you. The shift that I was supposed to cover for the person. And the manager says, okay, what is it about? I said, I want to talk to you in person when I get to the office. And I talked to the manager, and I basically say to the manager, this isn't fair to me. I have days off. There are days that I am not supposed to be working here. And, I'm constantly getting called. I'm constantly getting texted. And I basically said to him, is there some kind of punishment? And one of the reasons for people that are calling out, and one of the reasons that this set me off, one of the reasons that this annoyed me about was because I would have perfect attendance. I would never call out. I would almost never take a sick day. And the one time that I basically needed to take a day off, I had told the manager basically like 3 weeks beforehand that I needed a day off, and it was the day right before Easter.
Almost
and it was
a month in
my
advance.
mom, she's very religious, and she wanted me to go to church with her. So I agreed to go to church with my mom, and I wanted to go together with my mom. I wanted my mom to be happy. I'm not a very religious person myself, but I wanted to spend some time with my mom, and I wanted to go to church with my mom.
Reasonable.
And what ends up happening is I tell the manager, 3 weeks beforehand, that I don't that I cannot come in on this day, the day before Easter. And the manager basically, what the manager basically says to me? Manager says to me, you need to find somebody to cover for you. And I was calling numerous people, texting, calling numerous people that can,
Well, basically, what I would do is that since my dad pretty much taught me basically this way, is like I'm putting in the timeout, or what's it called, the call out request on the portal on your phone. And tell them, well, I need a call out because of this completely understandable reason, like he just explained in the comments section of like the request, and tell them the manager told me I need to find someone, but I literally have no choice, and I never call out, and I have perfect attendance, and I always go above and beyond for you guys. And this is just one time for a completely understandable reason, and I always go above and beyond. You feel me? And I just would have just sent the fucking thing, the request, let it get denied, but I'm not fucking coming to work. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, what the fuck? And if you fire me, like, literally, I would talk to resources because that is fucked up. That is not right at all.
Can you cover for me? No, 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 no. And a few of these people were people that I had basically, covered multiple shifts for. I could not believe it that in 3 weeks I could not find one person, I could not find literally one person to cover my shift, not one. And that just annoyed me because the manager would always be the one who would be calling up people and saying, oh, this person didn't come into work. Can you come in today, Patrick? Stuff like that. So I'm thinking why don't you do that for me instead? Why don't you call up people for me as the manager and tell people like, Patrick can't come in today. Can you come in or can't come in 3 weeks from now? So that annoyed me a bit that the manager was just constantly, calling people, texting people for people that.
You could at least do that in my store. You could especially if it was 3 weeks in advance, tell them, look, like I can't come in because of this completely justified, valid reason, and I always go above and beyond, and I do everything, and I have personal attendance, and I never call out. Like, can we get Can you get somebody to fill in for me? And they would most likely be like, oh, okay, see, and do it. So
weren't showing up.
And that's terrible.
When I needed it 3 weeks beforehand.
This is terrible about like a Walmart or like a Target or somewhere else where like they really don't give a fuck.
He's telling you need to find somebody to cover you. And I didn't find anyone to cover for me. 3 weeks had passed, and I had ended up working that day, and the store was pretty much, dead. There was nobody working there was nobody coming in the store that day. It was, pretty much, it was pretty much empty at that point. It was the late afternoon. Nobody was coming in. And I had told the supervisor, that I want to go right now. Can I leave? I already finished all my tasks. I was not the one ringing. I had done everything. The store was empty. And, the supervisor gets in a little bit of argument with me. And I know it wasn't her fault, for me being there that day. I tried to, tell the manager 3 weeks beforehand, but she's basically telling me that, oh, you can't just leave like this. And I told her, listen, I finished all my tasks, did everything that I had to do. There's nothing else left for me. The store is empty. You guys will be fine if I go right now. Is it fine if I leave? And then they say, okay, fine, you can leave. Now, I had a friend of mine who was actually working there with me. And that friend of mine had ended up telling me that after I left, that supervisor was actually bad-mouthing me and saying, oh, he didn't really go to church with his mom. He just basically wanted to go home. He didn't feel like working today. It was stuff like that. And that honestly pissed me off that the supervisor just bad-mouthed me like that. That did annoy me. I never forgot that about that one. This is a different supervisor. This is not the people that I went to the wedding for. They were nice people with multiple supervisors over the years. But this was a supervisor. She didn't. She wasn't there for very long. Afterwards, she ended up moving away. But I remember that was just something that I had not forgotten. But now relating this back to my story here is this one person that I worked with. They did not come in multiple times. And I basically sat down with the manager. I didn't bring up that fact that that whole Easter thing. I didn't bring up that, but that was basically in the back of my mind. But I tell the manager, I say, is there a punishment for people constantly calling out, for people, not showing up to work? And the manager basically says to me, there is no punishment. Can't you write them up? Can't you give them some kind of warning? And I say to, and I didn't say that to him, like, can't you write them up? But I basically said, like, why? Why aren't you going to do something about it? And you know what the manager does? The manager gets extremely defensive, and he says to me, well, what do you want me to do, Patrick? Fire them? And I said to him, no, I don't want you to fire anyone. I don't want that to happen. But can you just tell them that they can't do stuff like this? They can't, call up, 30 minutes or 1 hour beforehand and just say, I can't come into work. And this is multiple times. Like, I get it. Emergencies happen. I get it. But when this same person is doing this over and over and over and over again, it's ridiculous. The manager starts telling me, oh, this person has responsibilities. They go to college also. They work another job. But I go to college too. I don't work a second job, but I go to college too. I have other responsibilities. I have things to do. And, I said, that person should tell you not to schedule them on these dates if they cannot come in. But it just frustrates me that it's days that I'm not supposed to be working, and I'm basically getting guilt tripped into coming in. So that's what I say is a lot of people don't take the job seriously, and they'll do stuff like that. They just won't come in. They will just constantly call out, and that's just what's frustrated me. And when you work in with people long enough, you will be able to tell really quickly who is the person who's lazy and who's the person who's a hard worker. But that's just it. Is I had just some bad experiences with that, and I never forgotten that. Now, let's move on to the next thing. The next thing that I want to talk about here is the short staffing. How staff is constantly short. So basically, is this is a very common occurrence. Is if you have walk into any retail store, you will basically see there's not that many registers open and there's not that many people on the floor, and you're basically thinking to yourself, are there not that many people working? Are they short staffed? And the answer is yes. Most places are short staffed. But here's the thing. These companies will always say, oh, we don't have enough hours. We don't have enough hours. That's always what the management says. We don't have enough hours. No. The company has an infinite amount of hours they can give. It is they choose not to. So these companies are multi-millionaire, multi-billion-dollar companies. Bullshit. These are companies that have so many stores. And you're telling me that they can't hire a few more people to be on the floor, a few more people to be ringing. That's just what I say. It's complete nonsense about that. Is these stores
I always knew that was horse shit. I knew that they have an infinite amount of hours. I knew that was bullshit. They're just trying to reach that bottom line of making money. Like, fuck off. Like, oh no, we're growing. See, we're growing. Like, fuck you.
Short staffed simply because of corporate greed, and it's because of these companies. They just don't want to hire more people. That's just simply it. It's ridiculous. It's not fair to people who are working, and when people call out, you have people who don't show up. Also, that makes the situation even worse. So that's what I'll say is I don't believe that stuff when they say, "Oh, we don't have enough hours. We don't have enough hours." That's just that's just it. It's just ridiculous. It's constantly always about corporate greed. Is they don't feel like scheduling people. They think, one guy can basically do the job of 4 people. That's essentially exactly how corporate feels. And the ridiculous thing is, I had this one supervisor that I remember, and this one supervisor, he was so lazy. What this guy would do is what he would do is I would work on Saturday nights, right? And when I was working on Saturday nights, I was in charge of sale signs. Now, sale signs, I was pretty much the best at the place. I'm not trying to show off or anything, but I knew the aisles really well, and I could just basically go down the aisles. I could do, over 1,000 signs in just one night. I could do that. I could do the entire store signs, all the sales, all of that, all those little tags on each. I could do that in just one day. I was pretty quick with that. And so they had me doing signs every single, Saturday typically. But I had this one supervisor, and what this one supervisor would do is he would intentionally try to sabotage me. And I feel like he was doing it 100% on purpose. I feel like he was. He would give me some random task to basically start doing in the middle of service, something that was typically supposed to be his job, but he would just give me some random task that was not my job. It was actually his job, and he would try to keep me from doing my work. And you're probably thinking, professional, why is your supervisor trying to keep you from doing your work? The reason he's doing that.
I remember had an employee that was doing that. He wasn't a supervisor, but he was an employee. Who was kind of like doing the same thing when I would like help out another department, the deli department, with like serving food, some different types of samples for hams, cheeses, whatever else, like little samples and stuff. This guy would come up to me and be like, "Oh, Emyll, can you do this for me?" And it's like they almost try to like phrase it in a nice and fast way that's like seamless and all subtle and like all like friendly buddy like that, all casual and fast, to make it sound like, oh yeah, like let me drop this and do it. But it's literally their task. Like, it's because when you get there, it's just they tell you what to do, and it's like, bro, like this is a task. Why are you telling me to do a task when I'm already doing something? Is this something you're supposed to be doing? Like, why are you not doing this? Why isn't somebody else doing this? Why do I have to be doing this when I'm doing something already? You feel me? And then it happens enough time, and you think, bro, like this guy is trying to like literally sabotage me. He's trying to get me out of like what I'm already doing. Like, get the fuck away from me.
Is because when the store hit 10 p.m.
But the problem with the employee was that with this guy, he wasn't doing it super like direct like that, and he's also like a little bit mentally retarded. So like you can kind of play around with him and be like, "Nah, bro, that's you," and like it'll be chill. and it'll be like okay, but like he'll do it enough times and like at different situations. Like let's say I wasn't like like serving some shit for the deli, and I was just doing or like a normal task for my normal front end department thing, and like I'm in the middle of it, and he comes up to me and tells me to do something else, like. That would also happen too, but enough times I would catch on and I'll be like, no, bro, don't make me do something else when I'm already doing something else that you told me to do when I was doing something else. Like, don't make me do the third and fourth thing when you told me to do a second thing when I was already doing the first. You feel me? I would get to a point when I like once I was already a veteran at it, like I was like working there and hearing his bullshit and all the bullshit in general after like 3 years, it would get like that and it'd be like, okay, okay. It would fuck off because that's it. Like I had enough. But like people that are new don't know none of that shit and they just get used and abused for no reason.
When it hits 10 p.m., he basically comes down on the floor and says, "Oh, Patrick, because you didn't finish all the signs now, you can't leave until you get all the signs done." And so he would hold me there until like midnight, until 1 a.m. I would be there sometimes 3 hours after shift, and that was just finishing up all those signs. And what he would do in this time, he would just go up in
Max,
the
I would say
office
like
and
about
he
an
would just
hour and a
sit there.
half after
And
shift.
that was just it.
Maybe once or
Nobody
twice
really
or
on the
two.
staff liked him. Everybody pretty much has an issue with him. Everybody considered him to be lazy. They just did not like him. They just did not like him in general, and that just annoyed me. And thankfully, the manager, at least in this aspect, was understanding. The manager never got pissed at me for that. For this thing, he didn't get pissed at me because I had two managers. The first manager was a complete scumbag. The second manager was actually a more nicer and understandable guy. But the more understandable guy that I had later, he understood that it was not my fault. It was this guy who was holding me, and he talked to him and he told him, "You can't do this," but the guy still kept doing it repeatedly. It was frustrating. It annoyed the hell out of people. I remember one time when I was working on on a Saturday night, and he ended up holding some of my coworkers there, till like 1:30 a.m. It was ridiculous. But then it was another night that we were working, and this night I'm trying to remember what day it was. It was not a Saturday night because I remember we weren't doing signs, but I remember he basically prevented us from doing all of our work. We actually had more people than usual that day, and I had two other coworkers. And he basically told them that we can't leave until we get all this stuff done. We had some cleaning, some organization, some other stuff to do. And what ends up happening is the two of my coworkers say we got finals tomorrow. We got tests, we got school, we got stuff to do. And I didn't have any finals. I didn't have any exams. I didn't have anything stuff like that. We didn't go to the same school, by the way. They went to a different college. But anyways, about this is what ends up happening is the two of my coworkers. We were working for maybe like half an hour more. The guy goes up to the office, sits there again, is not really doing much. And at that same time I told both of my coworkers, I told them, you know what, guys, why don't you guys both go home? I'll take care of it for you. These two coworkers, I knew them well. They were really nice people. They had good hearts. They were not scummy people at all. They never did that call out garbage. They always had my back. And so these two coworkers, I basically told them, you guys go, go home. I'll take care of it. And then that guy, came down like half an hour later. He's like, where are they? I told them that they can go. I've take care of their work. And he got a bit pissed, but I said, I'll take care of it. Okay, I'll finish everything tonight. And he just went right back to the office. And that's the thing is, a lot of these supervisors and these managers, they would just sit up in the office. I know they're doing some stuff up there, but I'd rather sit in the office the entire day than do stuff like that and do like sales signs or be on the cash register. But I was working with that exact same supervisor once, and the manager basically put me and him on one shift just together. And this was in the afternoon. It was just us from like 3 to 10. It was just me and that lazy supervisor. It was just us. And you can imagine that the lines were just enormous. I've never seen lines like that. This guy was not coming down from the office. He was not helping me up. I had to take care of a lot of it. And you know what I was doing is I started multitasking. So I would actually have two registers open. So I would have one register open, and then I would be ringing on the other register. And I would be basically ringing up one customer, and then when that customer was basically, I told them insert the card, do your payment when they're swiping their card and everything like that. And then in the meantime, I would start up the other register, and I'll tell that person, while that person's payment is processing, another person, come over here, I'll ring you up, and basically going back and forth between registers. And that's how I was able to cut down those lines really quickly. Is I learned how to multitask.
That's a really good strategy. I never thought about that. For me, like it was just the kind of like linear, kind of like dumber, like straightforward way of thing of doing, which is like, all right, like just go double the speed. All right, like start going beep 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 beep. Let's start doing this shit fast as fuck. Like once they're doing their card shit, set up the fucking new bags. Set up your bag. Let me get you new bags from the drawer here that I have on the bagger side to refill our bag stations. Make sure that you have receipt paper, which isn't a very constant thing, but do it at least once. Check like all the little bells and whistles. Spray some spray on the belt and the scanner to put it clean, and then by the time all that's done, you have the new customer beep 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 beep. Like that's what I would do. Like I would try to like take up like a leadership role and kind of like direct a little bit like the cashier, like how to like move forward a little bit, especially as I got more and more years on my belt. I kind of just started doing that like more effectively and more efficiently, because when lines would just get super long and it's only just one or two belts open, I need to like kind of take charge and make sure kind of move fast, because if I kind of just like set backseat gaming like the freaking cashier as well, we're not gonna fucking do shit. But this guy was completely alone. Imagine like you're just a bagger and you need to start doing the cashier shit and also bagging, or just be that cashier that's bagging everything, and then do his strategy as well in a public sprawl. That would be insane.
I learned how to do
And then
that. But here's the
I feel like Publix managers will get mad at you even if you're like doing something efficient. That's their fault that you're even doing it in the first place. But you're smart as fuck to come up with something to like get the customers going, and you're like, no, why are you doing that? Well, and specifically, and where I used to work at, they would like get mad if you would do something maybe similar to that, or a strategy of like going fast, because our specific motto was about where shopping is a pleasure. So it's like it's about the customer experience. You feel me? It's
the thing is,
retarded.
management actually got pissed at me. They said, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to, use two registers. Well, if I'm not supposed to do that, then hire more people to help me. It's like you're getting pissed at me for running two registers at once, but I have to, because
And
this line is
fire the
getting
people
built
that
up.
don't do
And
shit.
these customers, what I'll say about them is these customers can be really unreasonable at times, because when there's like a really big line and the line starts building up, 95% of the time when the customers get pissed, they don't get pissed at the manager. They get pissed at you, me. So
Yeah.
whoever is ringing, they act like it's your fault that there's not enough people online.
Yeah.
They're like, get more people. What are you doing? Why are you so slow? It's like, do you not see that there's like so many people online? That's what I say. These customers are just rude and unreasonable. And this leads me to talking specifically about them, about these customers. Is these companies are greedy. They don't want to hire more people to be on the floor. But then when the customers complain, they act like the staff is at fault. When no, it's the company's at fault because they're not hiring enough people. Yeah. So when we're going back to customers now, is customers will drive you insane. Now, what I'll say is to you is I would say that like 50% of customers are like that neutral kind of customer. What I mean by that neutral kind of customer is that customer that basically just comes into the store. They don't have much conversation with you. They just buy their things and leave. That's just it. Those people, don't really have much of an issue with them. Then I would say like 20% are like nice people. They'll ask you how your day is. There are people like that.
It's like 25.
But then the other 30%, I'll say, are the rude people, the nasty people. These people, like I said, you could not satisfy them no matter what. There are customers who come into a store, and these customers, when they come into a store, they will have like an entire coupon book. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, some of them will have like literally 100 coupons. They'll buy like $200 worth of stuff, and then I've seen people like get it all the way down to like $10. And you're scanning each coupon, getting each item. And if there's an error with one coupon, like one coupon won't go through, they will make such a big deal out of it. So they're like paying for like $200 worth of stuff, and they've already gotten it down to like $20. So they're already saving $180, and like one $1 coupon won't go through. They'll make such a big deal out of it. Like, I have before I started working in retail, I was a really naive kid, because I never in my life imagined that somebody could be so stupid that they would start make such a scene and throw such a temper tantrum over something so stupid like a one coupon not working. But that is exactly what it is. And what I noticed about these people is the people who spam those coupons, they usually drive like really expensive cars like Mercedes. So that's what I noticed, is they're so cheap when it comes to like just buying stuff in the store. But then when it comes to actually like their vehicles, they're driving typically the most expensive, like luxurious vehicles out there. But that's that was just the coupon people. There are people who will give you a hard time over nonsense. They'll complain over sales. They'll say, oh, can you give me the sale from last week? It's It's like, no, I can't give you the sale from last week. It was the sale from last week. But then management will come down and say, just give it to them, just give it to them, just give it to them. So like, what's the point of even having sales if we're just gonna give people
So then when and like 1 or 2, 3, 4 times that happened to me where it's like, well, it's the sales price that was last week, I just would do it automatically. I would like, oh, I'm so sorry, beep beep beep, and do the fucking thing myself and just continue on my shit. Like, don't care. I really don't care. If they don't care, I don't care either. I carried the same energy. That was the problem, and they didn't like it. They didn't like that I would carry the same energy that they would carry to talk towards me, and then claim that they were being completely diplomatic and cordial and nice and fair when they clearly were not.
Sales from like a week beforehand. And the same thing with coupons. If somebody, what was so ridiculous about my store is my store took expired coupons. They took them like,
Yeah.
and if you're taking like an expired coupon like a few days afterwards, I don't see it as a big deal. I think that's fine. But if you're bringing in coupons that are like months old, there's no reason why a store should take that. They shouldn't. That's ridiculous. But
even a month old,
that was my manager was basically saying, give it to them, do it for them. And then what ended up happening is later on we had corporate come in, and corporate, basically said, stop taking expired coupons, stop doing that. And then the customer started complaining that we stopped taking expired coupons because they were so used to it. And then corporate started telling us, start taking some expired coupons now. It's like use your best judgment. On that, it's like, what is my best judgment? What is that supposed to be? Is it supposed to be like a month?
And then it becomes arbitrary, and there's no standard, there's no rule, and it's just a circus. That's why I would always call that place the circus.
Like, what is the date? So that's, let's say the coupon policy changed so much. It was just so confusing and it's so infuriating. And I'll tell you something, is these customers, a lot of these rude customers, is they basically think that like people that work in retail, they either think that they have it easy, or they think that they're like, high school dropouts or something like that. They don't really take them seriously. They don't really care about the stuff that they go through. I'll give you a perfect example of something of a customer that was really unreasonable. And there was this customer who basically wanted me to bring up Ensure from the basement. Ensure is basically like a protein drink. So our stockroom was in the basement, and we had this door that we would open, like this lift to the basement. This door was like a big steel door. It was ridiculous. The amount of force that you needed to open that, like, I'm pretty sure I damaged my back just using that over the years. But the belt that was like go up from the basement and stuff, it was full of stuff. There was like no way for me to take all that stuff off. So what I had to do was I had to go downstairs to the basement, take all the Ensure stuff, and then bring it up. And she wanted like those big boxes. And I didn't want to make multiple trips. And so what I decided to do is I decided to like, bring up like 2 or 3 like, boxes that Ensure that was heavy as hell. Like my back was breaking. I was scared I was going to trip. I was going to fall down the stairs. And I ended up bringing it all the way to the front of the store from that. And I am exhausted. My back is killing me. And this customer clearly sees that I'm exhausted after that. She clearly sees that. And what she ends up doing is when I bring up all the Ensure, she asked me to go down to the stock room. She asked me to go down and check for it. You know what she says? She says, oh, they're not on sale? I don't want them anymore. And so now
that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen. And my brain would get so destroyed. That's where your morality goes out the window, bro. Those are the moments where I'm like, oh, okay, David, I need to freshen up, because you see how I'm dead after doing that, and then she doesn't want it. Yeah, let me go to the bathroom and freshen up and take a couple breaths for my sanity. Thank you. And I'll go into the bathroom and I'll take the biggest fucking hits out of my cart. I'll just go and just fucking get so fried in those bathrooms, bro. Like I would go into the handicap ones where it has this the where it's like its own personal room, and you can lock it, and it has the sink and the towel, and it has the little baby area, like I don't know what you would call that thing, the little bed drop down plastic thing. To change the bed, to change the diapers for the babies and shit. And I would get so high in front of the mirror and just and then, bro, just be there for at least 5 minutes. And I did have a note for my IBS. I'm pretty sure that for my IBS that I gave it to the managers, because they're like, oh, we need proof that you have stomach problems. And I was like, okay, bet, because I always did prove it when it came to like school my whole life from K through 12. Always fucking had that shit resolved for me. Why not at this piece of shit job? So you want a note? I'll get you a note. And I did. And so I would just fucking take just my fucking itch. And I think that's why I would like get saved a lot of times from versus a lot of people that wouldn't get questioned to go in the bathroom, because I would just get high as fuck a lot of times when I would be getting angry or getting stressed or a mixture of both, and being tired, and I would just use those bathroom breaks to just get high as fuck and also use the bathroom, and then come out feeling a little bit better. No, actually, significantly better.
Go back downstairs and bring all that stuff down. This time I made multiple trips. I wasn't gonna go bring all that stuff down, but that's it. Is like that's ridiculous. Is you want somebody to bring something up to you, but then you're gonna complain about the price. You should have known the price was before you send the person to the stock room.
Exactly.
As the exact same thing happens is you tell them we're out of stock. Oh, can you still check the stock room? It's like I told you we're out of stock. Can you still check? Okay, fine. And oftentimes I'll tell you something. I'll be honest with you guys. I got so annoyed at some of these customers when they would tell me that it's not in the that's not that oh, can you go check? I knew a lot of times when something was not in the stock room, like common items, and I would tell them it's not in the stock room. Can you still check? And so what I would do is I would go downstairs, and what I would do is I would just basically stay on my phone. So I would basically sit on my phone for 5 minutes when I was downstairs in the basement. There was really no cameras in the place where I would go,
take a picture,
and I would just sit there for 5 minutes,
there.
and then I would go right back up and tell them we didn't have it, because I literally told you that we didn't have it. So you're wasting my time by sending me down there. I'm just going to do some things on my phone in the meantime. So I started doing that. I never really told anybody that I did that. If they caught me, they probably would have got pissed about that. But I started getting annoyed at those customers. And what I'll tell you about these customers is these customers are probably going to be the biggest part of ruining your mental health when it comes to working in retail.
For sure.
They will just completely damage it, because I'll tell you something is, even if you are the nicest person in the universe, if you are the nicest, most compassionate, understanding person in the universe, you will still have a customer curse you out in retail. It'll still happen. It does not matter how nice you are. It is eventually going to happen. You are going to have some person curse you out. It's just going to happen. So that's happened. I've encountered people who have cursed me out for things that have been completely out of my control. They've been ridiculous to me, just unfair to me. I remember I had a psycho customer once where the guy comes in and he buys a pack of gum, and he gets like $20 back, and I think it was like 2 10s that he took, and he leaves. And what ends up happening is he comes back and he says that the laundromat won't take bills. I need coins. And so I gave him some change for the coins. He comes back a third time. This guy now comes in the store screaming at me, just yelling at me. And I was like, what the hell did I do? Why are you so pissed? What's the problem here exactly? And the guy says that the moment he left the store, somebody prank called him, and he was accusing me of doing it. Now, for people that are confused, this company that I worked at, we had a store card. And if you didn't have your store card, you could give your phone number, and it would work the exact same way. It was, look up your account, and you get your rewards points and stuff like that. Now, this guy was accusing me of prank calling him because he gave the phone number. But the thing is, though, is when you punch in as many phone numbers as I do in like a single day, is you're going to forget that the next phone number, like when somebody gives you their phone number and then the next person like comes up and gives you theirs, you're going to forget that afterwards. Yeah. It's just you're punching in so many phone numbers, you're probably not even going to remember one phone number then. And he was like accusing me of prank calling, and I told him, like, sir, why would I do that? It's stupid. I'm working with a camera right above my head. I didn't use the phone at all. And he just says to me, oh, I better not find out you did it. Now what ends up happening is I told my supervisor about the whole thing, and he ends up waiting at my car at night. So when we actually were leaving at 10 p.m., the guy's like right in front of my car. He's just standing there, and he basically says to me, I better not find out you did it. And I'm like, listen, dude, I didn't do it. I didn't prank call you. I didn't do it. But this guy had like some serious issues that he constantly was like harassing me with this. Like, I didn't know if the guy was going to get violent or what. It was like some creepy guy like waiting at my car at night. Like, and for people wondering how he knew what my car was, it was because we only had like 3 cars in the parking lot, because the entire lot was just empty at that point. But he was just standing there, right there. It was creepy. And what ends up happening is my supervisor, her husband, he's this really big guy from Sweden. He comes in and he basically gets in between me and the customer. I wasn't going to punch the customer or anything like that, but the customer basically getting close to my face. And so he gets in between me and the customer, and he just says, Patrick, just go home. Go home. Just, that's it. And I got in my car and I left. And I don't know, how that ended. I know there was no fight, so he didn't end up hurting him. But I never saw that guy again. But that was just it. But, thank you to that guy for, standing up for me. But awesome. That was just a ridiculous thing. It was a, psycho customer. So it's like these customers, they will just destroy your health, your mental health. And there are like, some psycho customers, nasty customers, everything that you can imagine. And I'll tell you this, the last month that I started working there, I knew I was going to quit. I worked there for 6 years, for people wondering. The last month that I was working there, I knew at that point that I was going to quit. I just knew it. And what happened is when customers were pissed at me, when they were complaining to me for if they stopped me in the aisle, and because what would happen is people were so rude that if you're in the middle of helping somebody, customers a lot of times don't care. They will interrupt you when you're in the middle of helping somebody, like help me now. Even when you tell them I'll help you in a moment, no, help me now. So if I had people that would basically come in when I was doing something in the aisle and they would just interrupt me, especially when I was helping somebody else, and they would just give me an attitude, I started saying the exact same thing to each of them, and I would tell them like, sir, I can help you with what, sir, ma'am, I can help you with what you need. But you have to be nice to me. If you're gonna continue being rude, nasty to me, I'm not gonna help you. And if they kept being rude and nasty to me, sometimes I had them apologize. Well, other times they kept being rude and nasty. Like I saw that their attitude was not changing. You know what I did? I would just walk away. That is exactly what I would do. I would just walk away.
Literally, it's the
And
only thing
do
you
you know
can
what
do.
happened? Is I'll tell you something. It's like magic. It is honestly like magic because when you walk away from a rude customer, they are so shocked. Like they go from cursing at you to just complete silence. Like they're just shocked like this because they expect you to just sit there and just take it.
Yeah.
They just expect you to sit there and take it. And so that's is I would just walk away and I would tell them if they want us to complain to the manager, go ahead, complain to the manager. I don't care. I'm gonna quit here in a few weeks. I'm not getting paid a little bit over minimum wage to basically get verbally abused by complete scumbags like you. And that's what I'll say is this going into the manager is you want to know how to tell if you have a good manager in retail, how to tell if you have a good one. To tell if you have a good manager in retail, all you need to do is just see how the manager reacts to customers being nasty to you.
Being nasty.
If a customer is being nasty to you and like the manager comes up and just says, look, sir, ma'am, I'm sorry about the inconvenience. I'll take care of it for you. Then quit. Don't work for a boss like that because a good boss, I'll tell you this, they will come down and they'll defend you and they'll say, don't be rude and nasty to my employee. Don't talk to my employee like that. That is a good manager. That is a manager you want to work for.
That's
if it's a manager who basically just sucks up to the customer and just they care so much about customer service that they're going to let you get verbally abused by some scumbag.
Completely 100% correct, bro. Depending on how your manager reacts to a nasty customer is 100% to see what they are as a person. If they suck up to the customer, they're a complete scumbag, shell, fucking corporate piece of shit, black and white piece of shit. But if they actually come to your defense and do exactly what you just said, like, now that's a real person right there. For sure. I completely agree.
That is not a manager that is worth working for. So that is what I will say is that is not a manager that you want to work for. And retail is not a place that you want to stay for very long. It's a place maybe spend like 1 or 2 years. Maybe it's an easy first job.
1 or 2.
I don't know if easy first job I would say, but easy to get hired. I would say at least in most places. For me, it was a little more annoying at first, but it is, and I would say a job that you get at the start, a little place that you can build some job experience, but it's not a place that you just want to stay in for long. And I'll tell you something. This is going into now the scams. So the scammers, I don't consider them customers. I consider them criminals, the scammers,
Exactly.
because they're not coming
not
into the store to buy something. They are basically coming into the store to basically scam the store. And there are multiple scams. I have seen so many.
And I got fucked by one too, and it was only because it was literally the last person I was ringing up, bro. And I just wanted to leave, and I was already like supposed to have left like about an hour before, I believe. And like it was these 2 black women. They're like heavy set black women from like, I don't know, Haiti or Bahamas or not American, something. And they came with a shit ton of coupons, like a shit ton, but like repeat ones. But they would scan when I would scan them. So I'm like, okay, bet they work. And like they had like after I like scanned all their shit, it was like $400 or something or 5. They gave me all their like coupons that later were all fake. Turned out to be fake. And when I boop did everything finished, they obviously, it's like you said, like I went all the way down, but obviously they were fake coupons. And like I didn't know they were fake though. I say obviously now in hindsight because of the result of the story. But while it was happening, it wasn't obvious because they were scanning. If they were fake, why does the machine recognize them though? Like what the fuck? Like in this day and age, like shit like that can happen. Like what the fuck? Like you can get caught for like trying to check in a fake check into the checking place. Or trying to like get money from a bank with somebody else's name and get caught. But this doesn't fucking get like how? It makes no fucking sense. And it was due to them making me stay because it was rush hour, but like still, it wasn't my problem. Like it was already an hour after like I was supposed to fucking leave, and it was like midday. Like I wanted to fucking leave already. Like I was done. Like I was already like having a bad like day there because of shit that was already happening most likely, and because of shit that was happening outside of work, and I was already there for another hour. And so I did that, and I fucking finished the transaction, and it with the scammer, and it was like, yeah, like they stole a bunch of that, a bunch of that merchandise with fake coupons. I didn't get fired, but it was like that's part of their laziness.
Different scams. One common scam that I've seen that
Because
people
we didn't get taught for like scams. That's part. That's crazy. Another insane part that in those training videos that you have to do or whatever to like repeat, learn how to like learn, but like those training videos that initially when you first do them after the orientation and everything, you just it's supposed to be like a refresher that you do every year, like the same set of like 10-15 training videos that you do of the same 10-15 training videos that you do yearly to maintain the standard of like what the company wants or whatever, when you don't learn anything from those videos practically. And they don't include a simple scam like that. They don't fucking put a section where how to identify like fake coupons or how to identify like body language from scammers that are people that are potentially trying to scam and stuff like that. Like they don't teach you none of that. So this just happened. And so I'm happy I didn't get fired because I would have been uncalled for to get fired for that.
Do is people will actually come in and they think they're smart by doing this. They'll actually come in with like a store bag. So they'll have the bag of the store. They'll come in and they'll take out something and they say that they want to do a return. And this is going back to the returns thing. I just want to go over this really quick because I forgot to mention this is the company will not teach you how to do a lot of the things. A lot of times you have to learn how to do it. So nobody taught me how to do returns. Nobody did. Nobody taught me how to do them. And
Right here too, like all those training videos, they do not teach you how to. Hey, pizza. That's my aunt right there. They don't teach you how to. Give me a second. Let me just let this pass right here. A part of those training videos being useless is that they don't actually teach you shit that you're supposed to know. Like they don't tell you if you're in the cash register and you need a return, this is what you do. These are the prompts. These are the steps. This is what you have to do. No video like that exists.
Happening is I had to teach myself how to do returns. I went through the
If
register.
you're a bagger, do they teach you like the best strategies or give you like pro tips for the best strategies to grab cards? No. Do they give you the best strategy to bag? No. Besides like heavy things on the bottom and lighter things on the top, that really nothing else.
Look where the return option is, and I would just figure it out on my own how to do it. So nobody taught me how to do that. So eventually I had to just figure it out on my own. But these guys, the return scammers, this is the first type of scammer.
Everything I learned from the cashier, part of my of like my experience was all self-taught or people told me how to do it, but there's no training video or there's no training.
These guys basically come in, they bring in typically a store bag. They try to act smart, like thinking that if they bring in the store bag, you're going to think that they purchased it from the store. And what they'll do is out of the store bag, they will take out something. It usually has there's usually three things that's in common on the item. Not always the three things, but usually the item is in an area that doesn't have a camera. Secondly, the item is small. And third, the item is usually expensive. If those three things match, that is pretty much a red flag that the item has been stolen. Sometimes they will bring in stuff to where there is a camera, but if the other two check out that it's a small item and it's usually something that's expensive, it's usually stolen. The reason they take a small item because it's easier to conceal. The reason they take an expensive item is so that they can get more back. So what they'll do is they'll steal something. And the thing that they typically stole at my store was the probiotics. Like there was these probiotic like pills that people would steal, and these pills, $60, $70. Some of them were I think go up to even $100. And so they would steal these things. They would then come into the store with the bag and they would say, "Oh, return." It was always the same thing. It was my grandma didn't want it. My grandma didn't want it. It was always the exact same. What they would do is you would give them a store credit. for that amount. And what they would do is they would then take that store credit and they would use that to buy other things for themselves to get free stuff, or they would just sell the store credit to somebody. That is pretty much what they would do. It is the return scam. And I was able to tell pretty quickly.
At least that wouldn't happen in our store though, because we needed a receipt. Like, why would they give them store credit? There's no receipt to prove that they bought it. You know,
when the return scam happened, like I said, same story, same people. Like sometimes some of these guys are complete idiots. Like I remember one time I had like a guy who came in and he had like his hood up like this, and he looked like he was high, like he was like this, like, and he basically just takes out of his like little like sweater pocket here, and he just like throws like a probiotic on the counter, like return. And I'm like, was there something wrong? I didn't want it. And he's just like this. Like it's like I'm like, come on, dude. It's like I can tell that this is so stolen. Like it's like you're not fooling me. You have to be a complete idiot to see that this is not you think that this isn't stolen. But I think the guy was on drugs or something like that too. But I remember I would reject these transactions. What I would typically do is I would typically call the manager or the supervisor, and I would tell them like, oh, sir, I just need my manager's like approval for like a large return like this. And I didn't really need their approval. I could do it on my own, but the manager would come down and I would tell the manager, I was like, boss, like, can you take a look at this? Like, do you think that everything is okay with this? I wouldn't say directly that it's stolen, but when I would say that, can you take a look at this? They knew that that was basically my code for the item is stolen. And the manager basically then say, oh, we can't return this. Call corporate. That's basically what the manager would say. Because we don't want to accuse them in the store of stealing, but we pretty much know that the item is stolen.
Right, we couldn't accuse them either in our store, but it's like, sir, ma'am, there's no way of proving that you bought it in our store, therefore we can't return it. And so, which is a very logical thing to fucking say and do as a worker or a manager, because, bro, you didn't fucking buy it. Who the fuck are you? And especially a goddamn crackhead just saying return. It's like, bro, are you off some bars? Like, fuck you, yo. Get the hell out of here.
Stolen. So
go take Triple C somewhere else. Go take Robitussin. Fucking, yeah. You literally look like you literally drink Dayquil to have fun. Fucking degenerate.
We're trying to avoid a confrontation, but that was it. Is you had people that would come in and they would do scams. I had this one supervisor who was working there. He didn't work there for very long, maybe half a year. And this one supervisor, he was kind of an idiot when it came to this. He was kind of stupid. He was a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't like a scumbag, but he was kind of stupid when it came to this stuff. This guy, I called this guy up to the register once. This guy had brought up like a bunch of vitamins that were, we're talking hundreds of dollars of vitamins. No receipt whatsoever. It was obvious to me that the items were stolen. It was my grandma didn't want it. I asked him, when did you purchase this? Could not give me a specific date when I purchased. Oh, I don't remember, sometime last month. It's like, so you purchased all these, vitamins. None of them are open. Your grandma didn't want them. You purchased them last month. You held on to them for weeks. Now you're bringing them in all of a sudden now. It was just, for me, it was a complete red flag. It was, another return scam. I called the supervisor. Supervisor comes down. And I tell the supervisor that, can you look at this? And he's like, what's the problem, Patrick? Can you please take a look at this? Look at these here. I mean, what's the problem? It's like, I'm not going to do the return. That's just what I said to him. And I just walked away. He did the return. And then he says to me, Patrick, what were you trying to tell me? And I was trying to tell him the pills were stolen. And he's like, oh. I was like,
good job.
But that was it. It was he wasn't a rude guy. He wasn't a nasty guy. He was a nice guy. Okay. But like I said, he's
a cool guy, but just dim-witted as fuck, bro. It's like, come on, yo. But why didn't you guys accept receipts? That's literally anywhere. That wasn't just where I worked. That's just anywhere. You need a receipt to prove that you bought it to fucking justify your return. Even if it is unopened and everything, it's like you need the receipt to prove it, that you bought it from our store at that specific time. That's true of the day. And we can go on the cameras and also check that specific date that's on the camera that you came in and fucking bought it, purchased it, and that you don't want it. Even if it's unopened.
He was kind of dumb when it came to this. He was good in other stuff. He would help you out in the store when you needed it, but he was not.
It would actually be better if it were unopened and you had the receipt. If it were open and the receipt, it would kind of be a little bit dicey because it's already open. But like if it's unopened and you don't have a receipt, like you stole it, bro. More likely than not. Like, come on.
Not good at that at all. Seeing through people. But that's one of the scams. The other scam is we got the gift card scams. The gift card scams is you would have people, if you ever see those YouTube videos with like Kit Boga, you know, when he calls them
Kit
like a
Boga.
gift card scammers and they're like, do not redeem, do not redeem.
Do not redeem! Do not redeem! I love those videos so much, bro. Keep Boga and Pierogi used to do them, but now Pierogi does like way bigger stuff and like more other types of like scammer baiting videos.
Other stuff. The victims that are.
But I never experienced any, like a grandmother getting like potentially scammed by wanting to buy $5,000 worth of gift cards like in my lane. Like that's never happened. And if it did, I'll strike that down so quick that scammer's gonna get fucked. At least with me being a part of this shit right now in real time for this poor lady or a gentleman that's like getting scammed out of their fucking money by a piece of shit across the world. But I would have definitely have fucking done that. I would have definitely done that because that's disgusting. And somebody coming up to us straight up and trying to redeem something, it never happened to me personally without a receipt and stuff. It never happened personally to me, but it did happen to other people, like in the customer service. What is it called? Like the front desk of where the front desk of customer service is at for our store. Like that's where I would see it mostly happen and actually have memories of it happening. It's like, no, we can, like, they'll get mad and shit. And it's like, why are you getting mad that we can't give you money for something you can't prove that you didn't fucking buy? It's like, you fucking stole it. That makes you especially fucking guilty looking, bro. Now, but that's because, you know, like I said, we need our receipts to do that.
Buying those gift cards would come in to the store where I worked a lot of times. They would try to buy like hundreds of dollars for gift cards. And, you know, and usually most of the time, the victims of these scams are elderly people. The reason it's elderly people is because old people don't know these gift cards that well. They don't know how these gift cards work. And so what happens is they go...
Or they have dementia and they're being completely taken advantage of because of them not understanding what's going on or like coherently understand that this is like they're being taken for a ride, for a spin
to the store, and they're told, you know, buy these gift cards. And when you ask the old people, you know, why are they buying the gift cards, they say, oh, the IRS, that's the Internal Revenue Service, the government is calling me, they're telling me I owe taxes, I gotta, you know, buy Apple, Google Play gift cards right now. Or they'll tell you
because the IRS doesn't call you through your phone, they send you letters through the mail, so you know that that's real, because the only people that can randomly send you mail to your, or randomly feel like they can randomly send you mail through your shit, is the government and like bills and stuff like that. That's it, because they have your information for real, and they just send you it directly like typed out, because it's real that you're in their shit and that these are real bills and stuff. They'll never call you, so it's a scam on that front. And it's also a scam on the other front, because let's say they did send you this shit, these bills or whatever for you to pay. You can't pay IRS bills or government bills or utility bills with gift cards. You can't do that. So that's also a reason why it's a scam. The reason the scammers want gift cards is because it's a untraceable form of currency once the victim, the old person, gives them the code. Once the victim gives them the code and the scammer obtains it and redeems it, that's it. There's nothing that can be done, because the idea with the policy of the gift card is that if you use a gift card, it's used. It's non-refundable. So it's lost. It's lost money. It's fucked up.
Parent scam. The grandparent scam is when they basically will, the scammers, what they will do is they will say to the victim that your grandson or your granddaughter is in jail right now. We're the police. And, you know, if you want to get them out of jail, you got to go to the store and buy Google Play gift cards. And so a lot of these grandparents, their heart's in the right place, but they just don't know a lot of this stuff. And so their grandparent instinct comes in. They have to protect their grandchild. And so they're running to the store to, you know, buy these gift cards. One of my coworkers, I remember, was telling an old guy about this. He was saying, you know, my grandchild is in jail. I got to get them out now. And we're like telling him, like, it's a scam. It's a scam. Your grandchild is fine. They are not in jail. It's a scam. It's like, mind your own business. He's saying, mind your own business. It's my money. I want to spend my money on this. And so he ends up spending his money on it. He leaves the store. He comes back to the store maybe like an hour and a half later, and he says, is there any way to get a return on those gift cards? No, we can't. we can't return it. We didn't tell him, we warned him, but there's no way for us to return it. Once the gift cards activated, that's it, it's done. There's no way for us to refund the money, to remove the money from the gift card. Exactly. And his best bet at that point is to call Google. That's his best bet, is or getting contact with Google support. But he was pretty much screwed. He was out of the money. I don't remember how much he spent. I think it was $500 minimum. But I don't remember the exact amount. I was not the person who rang him up, but when a customer is demanding something to be rung up, you can't really reject that. Even if at least I don't know, maybe you can reject it. But my coworker, she was telling him that it's a scam, but he didn't listen, and he got scammed. It just happened. He got pissed and he walked out of the store. He didn't complain anything to us, but that's that scam. So that's the first two scams. It's the return scam. There's the gift cards.
If I get a combative customer like that, it's like, I'll spend my money however I want, and I know 100% they're being fucking scammed. It's like, I'm gonna go to my manager and be like, yo, this old person's 100% getting scammed because they said that they need $5,000 worth of gift cards to pay the IRS that's calling them on the phone. Like, it's a scam. And your manager should be more than capable enough to understand that shit, because they're a manager, so they intake that information. They're like, all right, we're not going to let you buy anything in the store, sir. Like, that's what has to happen, because it's a scam.
And the third scam is basically the stolen credit card scam. And this one, the stolen credit card scam, is oftentimes you can tell when the credit card is stolen. But here's the thing: is the credit card scammers, they are a lot more intelligent than the return scammers, because I'm telling you, I've seen con artists. Like literally con artists that dress up in like suits, like they dress up like fancy stuff like that. So this isn't like, this isn't just like some, dumb, thug that's coming in and like, trying to do like they're trying to do like some return, like on an item that they stolen. These guys are a lot more, creative, and they're just a lot more smart. These guys, I would say, they're probably more dangerous, because these guys are a lot more smarter in how they go about their crimes. So you're not going to expect somebody like this to basically scam you. They're what I notice about these guys is these guys are very talkative. They will basically try to keep you talking constantly, these con artists. And the reason they're going to keep you constantly talking, they're going to, they'll ask you things like, oh, how's your day going? You're working very long here, stuff like that. I wish you well. And if they're just being like overly nice to you, they're just trying to constantly keep you in the talking so that you will do the transaction for them. That's basically what it is. They're bringing in a stolen credit card. Now, how they got that credit card, I don't know. I don't think it's always that they mugged the person. I think that oftentimes the person left their credit card somewhere and they took their credit card. Like maybe they pickpocketed them. Maybe the person like left their purse in like a bench for a moment and they took their purse, something like that. But these guys, like I said, the con artists, they come in those suits. They're very talkative. They will constantly try to keep you talking, and they're very nice, extremely more nice than anyone else that you can meet. And what they will do is they will be buying the vanilla gift cards, oftentimes vanilla gift cards, the MasterCard gift cards, stuff like that. So they'll be buying like the prepaid other gift cards. I think that it's harder for them to do that now. I think that a lot the vanilla thing, I think they cracked down on that more. But when I was working, like this is like more than 10 years ago. That's because I was working I worked 2013 to 2019. So that was what they were typically going for. Is they were going for those. And what happens is how can you tell that the credit card is stolen? How do you know? How do you know that the person isn't scamming? What happens is when I see somebody buying like $2,000 worth of vanilla gift cards, that immediately raises a red flag for me. And what these people will do is the con artists, they'll also bring up an envelope, and the envelope that they'll bring up is they'll bring up a wedding card, because the store would also sell like wedding cards, and then it'd be like, oh, it's for my friend's wedding, stuff like that. And I would just say to them one simple thing. I would say to them, oh, can I see your ID? And they say, oh, why do you need to see my ID? And I say, I just need to match it with the card. And that is the easiest way to tell if the thing is stolen. Because think about this. Is somebody in a suit really going to go to a store and buy $2,000 for gift cards on a credit card that doesn't even have their name? I mean, it is possible a family member gave it to them, but it's like I said, most of the time it is going to be a con artist. It is going to be some kind of scammer. That's basically what it is. And most of the time, what they would do is sometimes they would the rare occurrence is they would show me their their license, and they would show me their license, and they would show me the credit card, and I would look at it and I was like, this is not you. It's like a woman's name. Oh, it's my wife, or something like that. And I would say to them, sir, I can't do this. If you bring me your credit card, I will be able to happily do this, but I cannot do this like that. And other times, most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, they refuse to show their ID. They would say, oh, I left my ID in the car. That's what they would say, and then they would never come back. And they knew because the jig is up at that point, so they're just going to the next store to basically hit that. So that's what I say. Is those con artists, I consider those guys way more dangerous than like the guys who would shoplift, because the con artists, they're just a lot harder to detect. And so I ended up saving the company like thousands and thousands of dollars. But even though I ended up saving the company,
like, if I ever rung up somebody that was using a credit card that isn't theirs and I didn't fucking know, you feel me? Like
thousands of dollars. Did I ever get anything for this? Did I ever get like a raise or something for this? No. I didn't get a raise for this. It just didn't happen. So you think you would an employee that's like so vigilant on like stopping,
you'll get rewarded.
You think that you would reward something for them. The employee saved you like thousands of dollars of your company getting scammed. You would think that you would reward an employee like that. But no. But here's the thing: is I knew I wasn't going to get rewarded for it, but I still stopped those scams a lot of times. And the reason that I would stop those,
if it was like altruistic, yeah, I would still do it. But if it's like really mostly for their sake. So no, fuck them, bro. Honestly,
is because I just hate dishonesty and I just cannot stand scammers. It's also one of the reasons I harass scammers. I do videos where I annoy scammers and I call them up. But I hate scammers. I just cannot stand scammers. I cannot stand dishonesty like that's tricking people like that, just stealing their money. And even if the person is doing the return scam and they're stealing something from the store and trying to return it, I'm not going to give them money for that. That's just dishonesty. And it's just they took something that was not theirs. And the other people is you have old people that are going to be victims. So of course I'm going to warn them. And then about the stolen credit card, it's not their credit card. It's like somebody's credit card is going to be used. So that's what it was. It wasn't for me. It wasn't about defending the company when I was stopping the scammers. It was more about being honest about stopping these scumbags. But I had these scumbags come in and these scammers they cost a store like any retail store $1,000. If you ever work in retail, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These people, you encounter these scammers. They come in. And now we're going on to our next part. So I was talking about pay. The pay in retail is typically terrible. Is you're going to be paid a little bit above minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're going to be making, either minimum wage or a little bit above minimum wage. And I'll tell you something, the pay increases is so terrible. Like my first year, you know what my pay increase was? 18 cents. That's what it was. I started on $8.50.
Once I got 5 cents. Once I got a nickel. I don't know what they want you to say there. Like they tell you your whole like you did this, you did that, you gotta get better at this, you're not too good at that, but you're okay at this, or you're really good at that, and blah blah blah. And this is your score. You get 5 cents. Like what do you increase? Like what do you want me to say at the end? It's like thanks, bro. I can do so much with an extra nickel in my pocket thanks to you.
$8.50 in 2013. I got paid $8.67. So minimum wage is different in New York now. I don't even live in New York anymore, but back then, it wasn't the minimum wage that it is now. So I $8.15, I got 18-cent raise. Really for working hard for you for like a whole year. That first manager was a complete scumbag. The pay was not it was just not fair. It was just not a good amount. And what I'll say about the pay is what I find so ridiculous about this is that these retail companies will give these customers ridiculous things. Like these customers will come in with expired coupons, complain, oh, just give it to them, give it to them, give it to them. So they will constantly keep doing all these favors for these customers, doing all this stuff. Like, they'll lose thousands of dollars to these scammers, but at the same time is they won't when they lose thousands of dollars to these scammers and they give customers all this stupid crap, whatever the customer complains about. And customers also come in and they do ridiculous returns. One other thing that I forgot to mention, a scam thing, is what customers will do is they will take like a box of cookies and they'll eat 90% of the cookies where only 10% of the cookies will be left. And what they will do is they'll tell you, oh, I didn't want it. They tasted bad. They were bad. It's like, well, why did you eat 90% of the cookies? And we had to take the return. We were ordered to take the return. And what I remember, what they would do is customers would take the Crest white strips, those things for your teeth that are like really expensive, and they would use 90% of them, and they would have like a little bit left in the box, and they would say, oh, they weren't working for me. And we would have to take that and lose money on that. So the fact that the company takes like stupid return,
that wouldn't happen in our store. We were like, no, you used it, ma'am. We cannot give you the return. You opened it, and literally 90% of it's used. No.
Things like that. Customers would also take Tide, like a detergent. They would pour it out at home, and then they would fill the thing with water, and they would try to return it. And you can easily tell it's water if you just shake it, because regular Tide is like a harder liquid, so it doesn't move around. But if it's water, it's going to move around like
Flop
crazy.
flop.
So people do stuff like that. It's ridiculous, and they take these returns. They take these returns, but then at the same time, is you're wasting so much money on so much stupid crap. But then when it actually comes through,
But then when it comes to like trying to give money to the worker, no, they cut all the corners. That's actually a way worse version of what I went through, at least. Like, damn, bro. Like, that's actually like that's mine was the circus, but this is Barnum and Bailey's, bro.
boarding your hardworking employees is just what you're gonna give them. What 18 cents? That's what you're gonna do.
18 cents.
It's completely messed up. And this is what I'll say about the promotion scam.
I would get my 5
is-
cent promotion, but then we gotta accept no receipt returns and like all that. Like, no, bro,
Be
no.
careful for
At least I'll get my 5 cent raise. That did happen, and that is a big middle finger that I give them. But we wouldn't accept the returns without receipts or like shit like that. None of that would happen.
the promotion scam. The promotion scam is something that your company does. Your retail company does this. The promotion scam.
Well, okay, so it is a promotion scam, bro. It is a promotion scam. I fucking knew it. It had to be because, bro, the promotion's there, but then when they come and scan, it's not the same price. What I would do eventually after like me calling the manager and like eventually what I would start doing is that I would just change the price and put it to what it is and continue moving. It's like, why the fuck do they put that shit there if it's not the fucking price? Whether it's because they're too lazy and they don't take the fucking promotion off so it can be the regular higher price, or they put it in too early and it's not in the system yet. Why the fuck is it goddamn there? You know, like I'm putting the goddamn price.
What this is, if you work in retail, you probably have encountered
Myself.
this, is you might be working there for even half a year and you might be offered a promotion. So it's like, it's kind of weird that you're working there for half a year and you're offered a promotion already. But these companies, management will come up to you and they'll tell you, oh, I want to promote you to supervisor. And I was offered the position of supervisor numerous times. And I would always say, no. And my company, my management was getting frustrated that I wasn't taking it. They kept constantly offering, but they couldn't make me supervisor if I did not agree to it. But you're probably wondering, why wouldn't you agree to being supervisor professional? You're getting a pay increase, right? The reason is because I consider it a scam. The reason I consider it a scam, and let me know in the comments if you agree with me that it's a scam, guys. But basically what the promotion scam is, they will tell you.
Okay, so this is a completely different scam. Like I thought it was like the promotions that customers buy and then it's a different discrepancy price. Which that could be also seems like a scam too. But this is a promotion scam in the sense of like, oh, you get a promotion as an employee from the employer after like a certain amount of time or certain requirement for you to like get it, but you don't get it.
Oh, you want to be a supervisor? We'll pay you $1 more an hour. And most people
Or it's just a shitty increase, right?
It's like, yeah, I want to earn $1 more an hour. But what they don't realize is the amount of work that you're going to have to do. So you're going to be
shitty increase relative to all the shit that you have to do extra. Goddamn, I'm sorry that I keep on fucking pausing, but yes, that's exactly it. That's why it's a scam. Yeah.
Responsible for opening and closing the store, responsible for counting the money, all the registers at night. You're going to have to directly deal with customer complaints because you're in charge of that in that day. If corporate comes in the store, you're going to have to be the ones representing the store, dealing with corporate. You are going to be in charge of running truck nights when truck is, Unloading, stuff like that. You are going to have specific tasks in the store to do that supervisors will have that maybe regular store associates won't. And the point that I'm getting at is that the supervisor is overwhelmed with so much more tasks. So for just $1 more an hour, they're going to throw so much more stuff at you. And you're still going to have the same responsibilities as a store associate on top of that. So you're going to have so much more extra work for just a single $1 an hour. Yeah. And that, what I'll say about that is...
Do you think that because that's a part of the scam, a part of the fallacy of like thinking that if you get promoted, you leave behind all the other shit under you and you just supervise, right? Point fingers, not really, especially if you have managers that are tyrants and they just rule over everybody, like they're just gonna use you as just like the lead employee instead of a supervisor.
That's a scam. I consider it. If you want to give me all these extra tasks, I want a minimum $5 extra an hour. Yeah. I'm not going to be supervisor for just an extra $1 an hour. I'd rather be a regular store associate and not to worry about all that extra crap. For that. So that's what I'll say is I'm not going to take that. So that's what I say is watch out for the promotion scam because it's very common. Management will go up to you and they will tell you, you want a promotion, you want to become a supervisor, and it's just a way to throw extra work on you for and offer you a terrible raise. So that's what I'll say is just watch out for that. And if management tries to do that
For
to
me,
you,
it was like I was a bagger and I had all the stress that I already had, right? As a bagger and all the bullshit that I was going through. Imagine all that plus bullshit from being a cashier for just $1 extra. No.
just ask them, how much are you offering? How much are you going to give me for supervisor? Just see what they say. If it's like $1, don't take it, because that's what the company would do. And now going back to this pay, what I'll say about this is the number one thing that I have seen companies break in terms of law, because what people don't understand is that most retail companies, they break one law constantly. Almost all of them, almost
Which one?
every single major company out there breaks the exact same law. And when I asked you guys on stream, you guys all answer correctly. Most of you guys answer this correctly, and I've asked this question numerous streams. So I'm not the only person this has happened to. This has happened to multiple people. But what law do most companies break? Break laws. That is exactly
Break law.
that is the law that they break. Now, what are they breaking exactly? What they will do is they will guilt trip you into not taking a break. So let's say that you're working an 8-hour shift, right? 4 hours passes, you're halfway through your shift. You're tired, you want to get, something, you want to get lunch, you want to get some food. What they will do is management will guilt trip you. They'll tell you, "Oh,
Yeah, I
you
remember
can't
that.
go on break right now. You can't go on break right
Yeah.
now. We have a lot of work. We have a lot of things to do. If you go on break, we're gonna be left behind because of you. It's
I
not fair to the
remember.
rest of the team. You can't go on break right now." It's like you've already.
The team doesn't care about me when I'm fucking dying. The fuck? This guy's talking about when he was like the only person in his lane is filled with people and he's calling and they don't put an extra person to fucking like be like, oh damn, this guy's the only person here and he's fucking working 2 cashier lanes at the same time. Fucking the person's paying with their credit card and he's already directing somebody else in the other lane to start doing their shit so he can be faster as one person. And then you're telling me, oh, the team. How are you gonna go on break, Mickey? It's like fuck you, bro. Like completely.
Been working for 4 hours. And do you know who should be blamed for that? Who should be blamed for that is corporate, for not hiring enough people.
Exactly.
You should not have to take the burden of that corporate did not hire enough people and management is trying to guilt trip you. And I'm going to tell you what they're doing with stuff like that. That's illegal. In most places, that is illegal.
That is
doing something
illegal,
like that because you are legally allowed to take a break. In my country, in the United States,
that's why once I learned to like just push a little bit, it's like, but I'm tired and I'm hungry, and they'll be like, all right, go, and they fucking literally say it like that because and you're like, oh shit, that actually works. It's like, yeah, because it's fucking illegal what they're telling you right there. That's illegal. And they're trying to pull one over you. And like, it happened so many times to me, and I didn't fucking know that, bro. But it got to a point where I didn't know it was illegal that they were doing that, and all the other like BTS shit in the background of like what that actually meant. But I eventually got my own backbone, and I'm like, no, like I want to sit down and eat. Like that's it. And like the fuck, like I legally have to take my break. But I didn't know that it was illegal to guilt trip you like that. I mean, it makes sense if it's illegal or legal to take your break no matter what after like 4 hours of working because your schedule is 8 hours and it's more than 5, like it's more than 6 definitely, then you definitely are owed a break. And if they fucking coax you into being like, oh, can you take it later for the team, please? Like that it's illegal. I didn't fucking know. So that's actually really scummy. Way more scummy than it was already. All of this is scummy, but it's just everything that I knew plus everything that he's fucking filling me in. It just makes the overall bad taste in my mouth way worse. But like I'm already done with retail. Like I'm never going back into it. Like it fucked with my mental health, and I'm not gonna go back into that. I did it for 4 years.
Has their own break laws, but if you ever worked in that type of environment, make sure you read up on what your break laws are exactly. Read up on your break laws, and maybe even have it on your phone, like a document that shows what the law is on your breaks, just so you can show it to management if they give you like a hard time, and you can tell management, no, this is not my problem. I have been working for half an hour. I am entitled to a break. I am entitled to get some food. I am entitled to rest.
Eventually, that's what I started doing on my own accord, not because I read up on the shit, like I said. And they would just they wouldn't do any pushback because it's like, bro, the fuck, you're literally and then at that point it's like slavery, and like no, like this is already really close to slavery, but then that's actually slavery.
I am entitled to that. You are a human being. You deserve a break. You are not a machine. And so I got guilt tripped into not taking breaks so much. In the first week that I was working there, I didn't even know I was allowed to take breaks. I was just a naive kid, and management saw me standing up at the register for 8 hours straight, hungry, tired. They didn't tell me that I could take a break. That's what was so scummy about that.
That's
but that was
that never happened
that's how
in any of
management
my
is.
stores. That never happened in any of my stores. That's disgusting.
So I would say is know exactly what your break laws are and bring it back to management. And the thing is, what the manager will do oftentimes when they try to guilt trip you is management.
But like no, but you were a kid though. You were a minor, and you were there without a break, tired and hungry. Not, bro, that's super illegal, especially that they were doing that to a minor. Because I remember in my specific store, or my specific company, that my store is like, what am I fucking saying? The company that my store is from, that it is based off of, that it not based off of, that it is like, they have a specific thing that they did make us know that, because they would get on, because like management that was higher than the store's itself management, like regional management or like the government, and she'll crack down on their ass very quickly because it's part of their fucking policy and everything. My specific company store, that if a minor doesn't take their break, it breaks child labor laws, and like that's like really illegal for like the store. So if like the kid gets worked like that for the first 2 weeks, 8 hours straight, tired and hungry, and they take that to the government, to the courts, to the regional management stuff, they're fucked. They're fucked. And the regional management won't do anything. That obviously you go to the government and they're fucked no matter what.
The supervisor, they'll say to you, "Oh, I don't take breaks. I don't take breaks." That's what they will say. Well, that's you. But I am entitled to a break. I'm entitled to get some food, and I'm entitled to rest. That might be you don't take breaks, but I'm entitled to a break. And here's the thing is, when they say I don't take breaks,
you're sitting in your office fucking cackling, and you're telling me this, like, go fuck yourself.
The supervisor and the manager are doing a lot of times, they're in the office. I know they're doing work up in the office, don't get me wrong, but they're sitting. They're sitting down. When you are actually you're on the floor or you're on the register, you're on your feet. You're going to be more tired than them. So they can eat while they're doing, so they can do their work in the office, and they can eat while they're doing work in the office.
Because you'll walk into them working on the office and type of shit, but they're eating as well. They can do that. We don't get that luxury at all, not even close.
But but I can't, eat my lunch.
The slaves
at the register. I'm not allowed to do that. So, and I have to stand up also at the same time. So just tell your manager that is, I'm entitled to a break. Know what the break laws are. It's like and threaten to report them to the labor board or whatever, government agency you have that's in charge of labor for you. Because that is, they can't do stuff like that. They'll guilt trip you into breaks. And that's ridiculous. And this leads me basically.
Or they'll do the opposite, and they'll guilt you into taking your break. So like that, you can come back faster. So like, let's say you have an 8-hour shift or 6-7 hour shift, and you only have done like the first lateral half, like 2 hours, let's say, or 3. They'll tell you to take your break. So like that, you have like the longer lateral like portion afterwards to just nonstop work, which is also scummy and fucked up.
Truck nights are, nights. We only had this once a week. We didn't have this multiple times a week, thankfully. But truck nights were basically when trucks would come in, and they would basically make the overnight, delivery once a week. And you would be working there from 10 p.m., oftentimes until 7 a.m. when the store opens. So you would be there, all night. And the only plus side of this is you don't deal with any customers. That is the only plus side of this.
Right.
You don't deal with any customers. You don't have to deal with any of that crap. But the downside is you're unloading this huge, heavy truck all night long. There's just so many pallets of stuff, just so much stuff. You bring in all these boxes, all this stuff, and you're unboxing it. And the thing that pissed me off the most, the Listerine cases. I hated bringing those in because
those must have been super heavy.
It's always so heavy.
Yeah.
But you would bring all this stuff in, you would unbox it, you would put it all on the shelf, and then you were responsible for taking all the garbage out, and then any overstock that you would basically send downstairs. And you basically send it to the stockroom and you would organize it. And here's the thing. Sometimes these trucks were so big, they were so massive that we didn't even have time to finish everything. So the store would be open and we would still have, boxes on the floor, toast, and the customers would be complaining like it was somehow our fault, but it was the company's fault because you did not have enough people on shift. We just
Exactly.
did not have enough people on shift. That was just
For such a
if you
big
had
truck,
like
yeah.
our truck nights, if we had like 2 or 3 more people on shift, we could have easily done them. And the thing that annoyed me about truck nights is that people who worked overnight did not get paid more. They didn't. The only time I know people got paid overnight more at my company was when there were some stores that were 24 hours. Mine was not a 24-hour store, but the stores that were 24 hours, the employees there, they would get paid a little bit more for working at night. But my store, we didn't get paid working at night, and I didn't feel that was fair because
That's not fair at all.
I'm typically a night person.
Might as well be a 24-hour store with how much like similar fucking load and demand that we get compared to the other stores, and pay us a little bit more for the same slave labor. Like, it's fucked up. They don't give you a crumb, nothing.
I would actually prefer working at night, but unloading this huge heavy truck all night long, even if it's the dead of winter, you're gonna be sweating because of all this heavy lifting that you're doing all night long. And that's just the insane late hours too. At the same time, is I tried to talk to the manager, and I talked to a few of my coworkers, and we all felt the same way. And we weren't allowed to have a union, by the way. We weren't allowed to have that. If you had a union, you get fired immediately. But I tried to I tried to talk to the manager, and I told manager, I'm not the only one who feels this way. A lot of other people feel this way, and that is that we want to be paid time and a half for working on truck night, because there was people who would not be working truck night. They would not. And the management would never ask them to work truck night. There was people that were specifically only assigned to days. They would never be assigned to truck night. Even though truck night was only once a week, it would just that once a week shift, that overnight shift would just destroy you. It would ruin your sleeping schedule, and it would just hurt your back. And it was just, not a fun shift to do. And so I would try to talk to the manager, and I would tell the manager, like, listen, can you give us time and a half? Because it's not fair. I'm not, downplaying the work that people have to do in the day, but it's not fair. Somebody who's working in the daytime, maybe they're under register, maybe unboxing a few things in the daytime. They're not as exhausted as we are, and they're not, unloading all these crates that we are unloading. So I just didn't think that was fair. And I said, all we want is this time and a half. And the manager basically agreed with me. He did. He was the second manager that I had. He was a nice guy. And he agreed. And he said, I'll try my best, Patrick. And I believe him. I believe that he did try his best. And he was going to go to a corporate meeting. And when they're in that corporate meeting, he was going to bring that up. And the thing about this is I told him, this is what I told him.
What? Give reasonable money to slave labor workers? No.
Manager. I said, if corporate says no to time and a half, then ask corporate for me what the point is in working truck night if you're going to be doing all this extra work for not any extra money.
So they can make more money.
And manager said,
okay, you make less.
Okay, I'll do it. And what ends up happening is manager, comes back from his corporate meeting, and I say, did you talk to corporate? And he says, yeah, I talked to corporate. And he's like, what is it? They say no. And I said, did you tell them, what's the point of working?
Not surprised at all. They said no.
Oh, truck night. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, what did they say? And he's like, the district manager said the incentive is you get more hours.
Exactly. You see.
So that's why you should apparently work truck nights.
Wait. What? That you get more hours? What do you mean? How? My reward is that I get more hours, when in reality you guys have infinite hours to give. Like, that's
because you get more hours. Oh yeah, we get more hours.
And this has to be done either way. And considering the context of how horrible it is, and being of a task to be doing at the dead of night before the store opens, and it's a super stressful fucking thing, and it's heavy and tiring and long. And it's a lot of and it's a big ass truck with a lot of things. And no time and a half. Oh no, you're here just extra time, so you're just making extra money. See, that's why, because you're just making money. Like, you're a retard.
Hours, killing yourself.
Very easy for those pieces of shit in suits that never fucking break a sweat or ever get close to actually doing the job that they're the corporate of, to say that, when they're not the ones sweating their dick off, grabbing carts and going through all that disgusting shit as the cashier and all the other stuff. Like, that is so infuriating.
Unloading this huge heavy truck, but that's exactly how corporate is. It's like, oh my god, it's like those truck nights. I'm gonna tell you, those truck nights are brutal. And I could basically spend like another hour just talking about the truck night specifically, because there's so much stuff in them to cover. Maybe one day I'll do like truck night horror story videos, but that's just basically going over all those points. Those truck nights are just ridiculous. And now, going on to unreasonable management. I was talking about the management earlier, but there are a few more things that I basically want to go over with you. Is that like I said, is the management will just run away and leave you. And I hate what this stuff is like. When you get hired at the job, they'll just run away and they'll just leave you there. They'll leave you there. They won't help you. They'll just leave you there and expect that you're, like in 1 or 2 days that you're going to know how to do everything just like them. But no, that they just, I hate that. I hated that when I basically was a new worker and they would just run to the back of the store and they would just leave me on the register at the front myself. I really did not like that. And I'll tell you something. We had a photo machine where we would be able to do photos for customers. They came in, they could do it off their phones, stuff like that. Now the photo machine, I asked the management several times, can you please teach me how to use the photo machine? And it was always, oh, I can't right now. I'm busy. I'll show you tomorrow. I'll show you another time. I'm busy. I can't right now. And what ended up happening is this one supervisor that I had, she was like such a rude person. I did not like her. I thought she was really nice at first, but then, she was extremely nasty to me. She was extremely nasty. She was extremely rude to me. She would constantly give me an attitude. If you want to know how rude this supervisor was, she was the most nicest person ever, all smiling to customers. But when she talked to staff, she was nasty as hell. She was just a very, unpleasant person to deal with. If you want a perfect example of how unpleasant this supervisor was, there was a coupon machine that we had, and it was in the front, and it was right near the registers. And we had it was me and my coworker. We were both up manning 2 registers. And we had this huge line. We couldn't get off the line. And then there was a customer who was complaining, can you fix the coupon machine? I want my coupons. Started complaining about that. Well, it's like, you literally see us, we're in the middle of a line. It's like, so we had a stupid customer that could not tell that we were in the middle of a line. And I basically called up the supervisor, who she was in the office. And I said to her, can you please, come down and fix the coupon machine? And she said to me, are you idiots so incompetent that you can't get anything done? That is literally the reaction that I got from her.
So disgusting.
She ended up apologizing to me later at that day. I said that it was okay. Right, but I'll tell you this about her, is she would talk to me like that again. And that's what I would know at that point that she is not sorry. So that was the type of person that she was. And if you actually called her, I was scared to call her up, because if I called her for anything, she would just give me an attitude. She was acting like I was intentionally trying to waste her time, like I was intentionally trying to piss her off. But that's the way that she would act. And I was just personally scared to call her. And now going back to this photo machine story.
Of course.
The photo machine. I would I asked several times to learn how to do it. And a customer needed help with the photo machine. And it's been months since I've been working. And I called up that same supervisor and said, customer needs help with the photo machine. And she says, can't you do it? And I say, no, I don't know how to use the photo machine. And she says, you've been working here for months and you don't know how to use the photo machine?
Time passing doesn't automatically download like a skill at work. You know that, right? You have to physically teach a human how to do something, right? I'm not this AI that just sees things and that can just replicate it. You know that, right? You're smart enough for that, right? Like, you can comprehend that. Your IQ is high enough. I swear, man, I would get so fired. Like, fuck these retarded supervisors that are just so unaware, so detached, just so detached.
Asked you several times. So the same person who says that I cannot help you, I asked several times to learn how to do it, and now you're getting all pissed at me for not knowing how to use the photo machine. So that's what I say. Management doesn't teach you things, and they get pissed at you. They get pissed at you for things that you don't know how to do, like it's somehow your fault.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. That supervisor that I was actually ranting about, she actually ended up getting fired later on. She didn't get fired for being rude and nasty. I think that's what she would get fired for. She got fired because one of her friends would come in, with all these coupons, and she was the one who rang her up every single time, and she would basically buy like hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise.
It's very clear cut, like favoritism just happening at work, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna deal with that.
A little to nothing for it, and so she got fired for that later on. But she should have got fired earlier for that, honestly, or at least talked to for just being so nasty to the staff. But that's what it is. It is so hard to fire people in retail
like that, because we've never had like super nasty people that's straight up nasty like that. It was just a lot of people trying to do a lot of psychological shit that was very like subtle. That's what would happen in my store. But shit like that was straight up disgusting bitch like that, and doing some favoritism with her friends. And she would have gotten fired like pretty quick at my store.
Like, the companies very rarely fire people. Oftentimes when they fire people, they fire them for oftentimes for stealing. That's typically what it is for stealing. And that same supervisor that got fired, that was giving me constantly an attitude, is whenever she needed help, I had to drop whatever I had to do and had to come up and help her. But if I needed her help, nope, it was always I was wasting her time. Can't you see I'm in the middle of something?
Right.
And I thought it was ridiculous that we had a corporate meeting once with that same supervisor, and during the corporate meeting, she said that if you get called up for help, you drop whatever you're doing and you go and help the person. But she didn't do that.
But you don't do
She
that.
didn't do that. And she would just give you a complete attitude.
I would say.
And this leads me to my next
But you
point,
don't
which
do
is
that.
how corporate is stupid. Corporate is completely dumb on a lot of this crap that they do. So corporate does not know at all how their stores run. I'll tell you
Like the
that.
actual in and outs of like the daily shit that goes on. So that's why it's very easy for them. Like going back to when he was talking about like the night shifts of unloading the trucks. Like it's very easy to be like, oh, but you're making more hours and you're making more money and blah blah blah. We don't have to pay you time and a half and we don't need extra workers because you're making money and you're getting more hours. When they make a shit ton of fucking money for doing nothing, literally off of the backs of everybody under them, and they don't break a sweat. They wear their suits and they're in a fucking corporate building that's 30 or 40 stories tall, far as fuck away from like the actual city and the stores and stuff. Like it's disgusting. It's disgusting. They make hundreds of dollars an hour maybe or I don't know, but just like shit tons of fucking money an hour just sitting down a well air conditioned office setting where it's like, hey John, how's the percentage of our or yeah, what's the percentage increase of our stock for the company, and fucking haha, all these people, we can just cut their hours and make it go up. And just talk about how they're making money and getting hours and see that as an excuse. Let's keep our drinking our like number one our world renowned coffee that's worth a shit ton of money off of their labor. Like it's just so asinine. It feels like you just wish you could ram a broomstick just right up their fucking ass and have it just come out of their fucking mouth so badly.
Corporate is the most clueless. They don't know anything, and they will never listen to suggestions. They always think that they know how to do everything the best. I mean, it's their company; they're in charge of it. But you'd think that they would at least listen to some of the staff, at least listen to some of the workers that are on shift,
that are
but
actually on shift and working like the slave job that makes the shit run.
no. Oftentimes they don't. And I'll give you a perfect example. We had this one district manager, and what he would do is he would come in to take a look at the store. And when he would come in to take a look at the store, he would come in for his inspections, his like monthly visit. And when he came into the store, he would tell us in the middle of the sales floor where all the customers are, he's like, you guys are doing a great job. I remember he always did this. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. And he would just basically leave. And then what would happen is literally an hour later, he would just send an email to the supervisors and the manager. And this email was the most nasty.
What? He would be fake as fuck like that with a little wink and a little fake gun, like, you're great. And then fucking leave and be like their ass. Wow. That's an even double, triple piece of shit than just being fake like that.
Vulgar email ever. I'm not going to say what he said here because that video will probably get demonetized, but I'm just going to say blanks for you probably will know what I'm saying is, wow. You guys don't know what the blank you're doing. You guys better get your blank together. If you don't, you're getting blank fired. That's basically how the supervisor talked. That was it. It is kind of ironic that he threatened to fire people, but very rarely will people get fired for being lazy. I've never seen it happen, but that's basically how he talked to people. He'd come in the store and be like, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. And then what he would do is when he would leave the store, he would send an email to the supervisor and the manager's most vulgar, disgusting message that I've seen. Terrible. And that same supervisor was complaining to us, blaming us for a loss in sales. We had a meeting once, and the meetings were always held in the basement where it was a stock room. That district manager was giving us an attitude and saying, we're losing business to our competitors. You guys got to have better customer service. You guys got to better have that stuff like that. And he didn't realize the reason that we were losing business was not because of good customer service. We had actually the best customer service in the area. The reason that we were actually losing business was because of prices. That was the reason. So we did not price match. That is the one thing that we did not do. So when the customers would come in with customers, the policy was so weird. It was so weird because customers would come in with like coupons for like months old, and they would complain, I want you to take my coupon, take my coupon. We would take the coupons. We would do these ridiculous returns where people would like use 90% of Crest white strips, and we'd still take the return and we'd give them their full refund back. But when it came to price matching, we wouldn't do that. That was against company policy. That's the stupidest thing. It's like you should not be taking those ridiculous returns with the Crest white strips, and you should not be taking coupons that are months old. But what you should be doing is you should be doing price matching, because any store that does not price match today in 2024 is basically asking for themselves to go out of business. Price matching is one of the ways that you stay in business, because people know that if your competitor has the same price, you will match it. Exactly. That is basically the idea of price matching. Price matching is when you go into a store and you show them proof. You pull up your phone and you say, this store has this exact same item for lower than your store. Can you price match it? Can you give me the same price the competitor is offering? Right. That is a legitimate thing to complain about. And I'll tell you this is I did that in when I would go to Best Buy. So for people that don't know, Best Buy is a great company because Best Buy, they do price matching. The company that I work for did not do price matching, but Best Buy does price matching. So if you actually go into Best Buy, go look up the exact same item on Amazon that you're looking for in Best Buy. It has to be a brand new item and it has to be sold by Amazon. So it can't be sold by a third party. But if you find the exact same item that is on Amazon and Amazon is selling it for less, you can just show them their phone. They will give you they will price match it for you. You have to have the right UPC code. You have to have that. But other than that, they will price match. And so my company did not price match. And I know that prices were the reason we were losing business. I know that for a fact. The reason is because when I did returns, a lot of times, these returns that I did, the customers in those returns, they would be bringing in lots of stuff. They would have their receipts, so I know they weren't stealing it. And I would ask them, why are you returning all this stuff? Like they return like bags of stuff. And they would say, the grocery store, next door has it for cheaper. That's what they would do. So we had a new grocery store that opened up next to us. And that new grocery store, they were offering stuff, sometimes even half of what we were offering. So that store next to us was killing us. That's what it was. It was destroying the business because the company would not price match and had all these things that were several more dollars expensive than what we had in our store. And I tried to tell my manager this. I said to my manager, why don't you bring this up to him? He's like, I know it's a reason, but we can't really tell that to corporate. It's like, well, corporate needs to hear that. Corporate needs to understand that. That is really
another reason why there's,
and that's why I honestly wanted to tell that district manager to go F himself. Excuse my language, but I wanted to because he was pissing me off because of this, the rude behavior, blaming us for a loss of sales when it's his stupid pricing, his company and corporate stupid pricing that's responsible for that. His policy of no price matching. That is the reason for it.
He's trying to be polite and not curse, and I've been doing it this whole time.
He's trying to throw it all on the employees, and they're acting like the employees are like they're all at fault. It's like, no, I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you have two stores right next to each other, right? And both of those stores have the exact same items in stock. But one of those stores has the best customer service in the world, but yet it has the expensive prices. And the next store next door to it has really good prices, but really terrible customer service. The people are going to go to the store, most of them, the store that has the really cheap prices. Because at the end of the day, customer service will only get you so far. People are going to look at their wallets. They're going to look at what money they have, how much money they're spending.
That's what
they're not going to look at stuff like customer service. So I always puzzled by stuff like that. These companies, they pay workers a little bit above minimum wage, and they basically expect like 5-star, 10-star, customer service, like you're going to get at some like fancy restaurant, like something like that. But that's basically what it is they expect that you're going to give like the 5-star customer service, paying you a little bit above minimum wage. I'll tell you this one worker I worked with, and she was a really nice lady, and I remember she was an older lady. She also ran her own business. She had a food truck. But about her is she told me something I'll never forget. And the thing that she told me is my father told me that if you pay somebody $10 an hour, you're going to get $10 of labor an hour. And that's that is so true. If you pay somebody minimum wage, that's exactly what you're going to get. Is you're going to get minimum wage work. I'm not saying that for people to be lazy. What I'm saying is don't go above and beyond. Just do basically what your tasks are. Do what your tasks are, what your job description is, but there really is no reason to go above and beyond if you're not going to get rewarded for that. If the company's going to treat you like crap like that, and they're going to pay you just a little bit more.
Fruit for your labor. There's no reason why there's a phrase like that, fruit for your labor. Like if you're working twice as hard, but it's the same shit, then there's no reason to do it. There really isn't, like at all. So for them to expect you to go above and beyond 5-star, fucking 6-star, pretty much Michelin star shit for a little bit above minimum wage, like no, you don't incentivize anything for me to fucking do that. The fuck, you just think that I should automatically have that attitude about it while just getting fucked the whole time. No,
minimum wage and give you terrible like raises like that. That's just not worth it. it's not worth going above and beyond for them. Just do your tasks, what you're supposed to, but don't go above and beyond, because I don't really think that there is a reason for that. And if you want to know how scummy corporate is in this, I'll tell you guys 2 more stories. We had an email system at the store, and how that email system worked is customers would give their email. It would tell the customers if they're not signed up for the email program, and if you basically gave your email, they would email you coupons. And if you sign up for the email, you would get 20% off. That is basically what you would get. And what happened is, staff wanted us, management was really pushy with that. They're like, get the emails. And they wanted customers to sign up for the email program just so they would get more coupons and they were more inclined to spend. And I had gotten more customers to sign up for the email program than anyone else. And how I would do it is the trick that I did to basically get customers to sign up for the email program was easy. That 20% email off coupon that they would get, I would tell them, I can apply that 20% off coupon for you right now if you want. So I would tell them, put in the email, they would give me their email, and then what I would do is I would apply the 20% off coupon, and I'll just do that for them. Most people didn't do that. They would just do the transaction and just ask for the email, but I would tell them, I would take 20% off, and most people were like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And the email program wasn't a bad thing to be signed up for. You did get a little bit of spam, but you did get a bunch of good coupon deals. But it was just the way management was just so pushy about it. It was just so frustrating and just so annoying.
Yeah.
And so I had gotten so much of these emails.
To, like, push it. They're like, just say it, go. Like, that's it. And it's super like fake in that sense, like they don't, if it were actually a place that cared about like teaching customer service and actually care about their team and have them be productive workers that actually learn skills, and it's actually an environment with structure, you would be teaching these people.
And the manager basically was bragging about it, saying Patrick had gotten, broken record amounts of.
You can teach these people how to like, sell shit, how to like learn how to sell, and because we're in retail, and when you teach them skills like how to sell stuff, they can maybe in the future go somewhere that deals with sales a lot more, go to a car dealership and be able to be way more well equipped at like transferring from being at a retail store or grocery store to being at a car dealership where you're selling cars because you know how to sell because you were taught there. But since they don't teach that, you just have to figure it out on your own, and you don't really learn that many skills besides like what he said in the beginning, the very beginning, which is like multitasking and I forgot what was the other one. There's literally just like 2 good things he said.
Email records amount of people that signed up for the emails, and he told
and
me
you
I
don't
would
get
give you a good
anything
reward for
extra
this,
for
Patrick. And I basically ended up talking
You don't
to
get
my
rewarded
manager
for
like
that.
a month after that, and I said to him,
And you don't get rewarded for that at all. And you don't get rewarded for going above and beyond.
and I basically ended up talking to my manager like a month after that, and I said to him, you told me that you're going to give me a reward for the emails, and then he's like, oh crap. And he completely forgot, and then he like went something on his computer. He like clicked like a few things. And he's like, there, I did it. He's like, log into your portal, you'll see it. And so I logged into my company portal. You know what he gave me? He gave me $5 in store credit. Like this is something that's like you see on the Onion or something, like something that's like made up. But that's what he gave me. Like getting that amount of, I had gotten like over 100 people to sign up for their email program. I'd gotten $5 coupon, not even $5 in cash.
That means what? That he got 2 cents per person that he did that to? Yeah. That's disgusting.
And that coupon policy that I told you guys about, the expired coupons, they would never do that for the employees. So they would do that for the customers that they complained about expired coupons, but the employees, if you brought in expired coupons, they wouldn't take it. Management wouldn't take it. So that was it. So they would give customers all these ridiculous freebies, but then your employees, somebody like that, getting the most amount of emails, getting only $5. And I'll tell you this, I stopped collecting emails after that. When customers would when it say that they're not signed up for the email program, I'd say, do you want to sign up for the email program? And they would oftentimes say no, and that would just be it. I wouldn't be like telling them that they get 20% off. Well, I guess I would be helping them save their money, but at the same time, you have to understand my perspective. It was like demoralized from that. I just felt like crap. Like I worked so hard, like getting that many people to sign up, and I just felt like I did it for nothing, just for corporate greed, basically. And so guess what happened when I stopped signing up for the emails? I had management, pound me. Management went after me, and they started saying, why are you not getting, why are you not, collecting emails? I said, well, customers don't want it. Well, you got to convince people and stuff like that. So they didn't write me up or anything like that, but they started, getting on my case for that. So they were like, $5 here, but then afterwards, when I stopped collecting them, they started getting on my case. It was annoying. And the other story I'll tell you about management here. This is probably the worst story that I'm going to tell here. This was my first manager. That was a total scumbag. So the manager made a bunch of ridiculous promises that he said were that never came to happen. Like, for example, what the manager did is the manager had told us the store was going to go 24 hours. And when he told us that the store was going to go 24 hours, he said, we're going to hire a whole new team, and we're going to have more people work. Everyone's going to be able to stock.
It did make it to 24 hours. Okay.
The shelves at night, organize the store at night. Because here's the thing: if you face the store, if you make the store like really nice, like really good, even if you do something like that and you make everything organized perfect, next day somebody's going to ruin it. That's the many people that's walking in the store.
Exactly.
So he told us, oh, we're going to go 24 hours. It never happened.
Which was like the same thing with like very similar with like the bathrooms and shit. Like people that were the custodians or the janitors, whatever you want to call them. And besides doing their regular like their regular tasks, because this was part of like that, like the kind of manager that I had that wasn't nearly as bad as his managers, but he was just such a like strictly corporate guy like that. But he was kind of human, whatever. I would say he was like 15%, 20% human, but whatever. When he fused the custodian and bagger role together, when I would be chosen to be the janitor custodian for the closing of the store, what would happen is that I eventually learned how to clean the bathrooms in my own efficient way. That the bathroom did come out clean, like relatively freaking clean, to be honest. And I did it in like the most timely mannered fashion that I could, for me to leave like at the most appropriate time that was close to my actual punch out time, because I would never actually leave on time. Like very, very, very rarely was I actually able to leave right on time when I was the custodian. But like I would see some people, especially this one specific lady. She was such a nice lady. Her name was Elizabeth. Like such a nice fucking lady. Her name was Elizabeth. Her name was so nice. She was like mostly a custodian than a worker, like a regular worker, bagger, cashier. Excuse me. And when she would be the custodian for pretty much all of her like schedules, you would see her for pretty much countless times actually cleaning those bathrooms, like if it was like your house type shit with like bleach and fucking a lot of liquid, and it would take a lot of time, but she would actually fucking clean the shit out of these things. And it was like, wow, I would respect the fuck out of her. But I would tell myself it's not worth it at all to do any of that work, because it's a public I'm sorry, like my brain, like why did I just break that? It's a public grocery store bathroom. You think that like this shit really like deserves to be cleaned this way, when like anybody can come through this door? Because when I would clean the bathrooms, there were like multiple times that I would see heroin needles on the female or male bathroom. You think like this deserves two Michelin star, 3 Michelin star quality of cleaning? Like, no, it doesn't. That's what I said to myself. It's like, it's not worth it. And eventually she came up to me on her own telling me like, these bathrooms and these managers and everything, it's like, it's exactly like the conclusion that I came to as well, because it's just not worth it, like, at all. These people do not deserve it for being paid pennies on the fucking dollar while they pretend to be nice to you and think that it's fair.
We never went 24 hours, and he ended up he was getting a job at another store, so he was leaving all of a sudden. He wasn't going to tell us until the last week that he was working. Now, I'll tell you this about him. I remember one night I was working with this guy, and this is the exact same manager who told me that I suck. Remember when I told you that I couldn't come in on that one day when I was coming in all the other days? He told me that I suck. So I was working, and I remember with him, we were closing the store together. It was just me and him, and he calls me up when I'm at the register. He calls me up as a phone from the office. He calls me to the front. He tells me, he's like, Patrick, I need you to vacuum the front of the store. And so I got the vacuum and I started vacuuming the store, and I was running back and forth to register. Then you know what he tells me? He's like, Patrick, I need you to face, the front aisles. Facing basically means you go down the aisles and you just, organize everything. And some of the stuff is knocked over. There's like, there's one aisle that had like hundreds of shampoo bottles, and that was the worst one because they were always knocked over. There was always something out of place, and it was ridiculous trying to find the right places to put it. And then he calls me up again, and then he tells me I need you to do throwbacks. And throwbacks are basically stuff that people don't want. So they basically go up to the
Yes,
register and like, oh, I
throwbacks,
don't want it
which
anymore. And basically we
in
get like
my store
baskets.
they're called go backs. They were go backs, which is exactly what this man is about to explain. Go backs or take backs is like, yeah, shit that people did not take but they didn't open, so you can just put it back into like the shelves and shit.
Of stuff that we're gonna be basically putting back.
There was always a shit ton of go backs in my store. It would be like, well, maybe not a shit ton, honestly. The other store that I used to work at was actually a shit ton. And there would be carts and carts. There'd be like 3, 4, 5 carts. That's actually insane. No, my second store actually wasn't as bad. It was like maximum 2 carts, and each cart would be filled like 60%, 80%. On the busy days, obviously, it would be like 2 carts completely filled, and maybe a third cart that has like 25% or something. But yeah, those are the go backs. And my original store that I started at, yeah, since that one was like a smaller store than the second store that I moved to, and it was like it was a store that was located way more in like where all the skyscrapers are at, and it's also like one of the originator stores. It had like all the reasons to be filled, to be way more filled with people than the one that I transferred to.
The shelf afterwards. And I told him, like, how am I supposed to do all of that? He's like, you have to do it all before 10. So that's all those
That
tasks.
doesn't explain
I
how I'm
couldn't do all
supposed to do
that.
it.
Like, I would have to get off the register. I would have to run to the vacuum for a little bit, try to face the aisles as I'm going down, vacuuming them at the same time, and also like going behind the register, getting the throwbacks and like trying to put it back, and I'm running back and forth, doing all these tasks at once. Like, you know, 4 things for this one guy to
3 tasks that should be their own individual, like one person task. So he's doing three people work at once.
do. Just constantly, I just felt so overwhelmed. I was literally about to like have a breakdown. I was about to have like a mental breakdown with just doing all that stuff. And he's nowhere to be seen. He's just sitting in his office. And the guy had a lumber business too. So he ran his lumber business on his phone all the time, and he didn't care most of the time about his management position. He didn't take it seriously, but he went after everyone else. He treated everyone else like complete crap. It was just treated everyone like complete garbage. And what ends up happening is 10 p.m. rolls around. The manager comes downstairs and he says, Patrick, you know, because you didn't finish your job, you can't leave now until you get everything done. And you know what the guy does? The guy leaves. He leaves me at the store.
What a scumbag.
Myself right there. I was only at the store by myself for maybe a few minutes because we had a truck night that were coming in. So the truck people were coming in. So they were an overnight truck. That night, this was before I started working on the truck nights, so I was still new at the job. But anyways, the truck people were coming in, and there was the assistant manager and a few of the other workers. Now the other workers weren't really paying attention to me, and I was actually going down the aisle. I just finished vacuuming, and I was trying to do all the throwbacks, trying to organize everything like that. And the assistant manager bumps into me, and it's already like 11:30, like close to midnight. She's like, "What are you doing here still?" And I said, "The manager said I can't leave until I finish everything." And she's like, "Just go home." And so I went home.
She's awesome.
Manager didn't go after me for that. He didn't criticize me anything for stuff like that. But then, I worked really hard for this manager, and I busted my ass off, excuse my language, for this guy. And for this guy just to treat me like crap. And I have way more horror stories with this guy. This manager was such a scumbag. Nobody liked him. I talked to all my coworkers, by the way, and none of them liked this guy. I don't remember one person, even the coworkers that were really scummy, even they didn't like him. So there was not one person that I remember that actually liked this manager. But going back to this, I worked my ass off for this guy. I worked so hard for this guy. And remember that
why, bro?
It was his second to last day. This is something I've never forgotten, and I'll never forgive him for this. This is like something that hurt me so badly. And this story that I'm about to tell you guys, this hurt my mental health more than anything else that I've encountered in the 6 years of working there. And this happened after a year and a half of working there. So for a year and a half, I had that really scummy manager. The rest of the time, I had a more honest, good manager. But the second manager tried his best, but his hands were tied oftentimes by corporate. But this guy, the first guy, was just a complete scumbag and didn't even make an attempt to help you. Now, it was his second to last day. The next day, it was being his final day. And I was trying to talk to him that day. And the reason I was trying to talk to him is because I wanted to ask him for a raise. I wanted a raise because he knew how hard I worked for him. He knew that whenever somebody did not show up to work, I would come in, I would cover the shift. I would work hard for him. I would get those tasks done. I would do all that stuff for him. But he, at that same day, he's rushing to get out of the store, I can't talk right now. And I say to him, and I just blurt it out. I say to him, can I have a raise? And he just looks at me like this. And he just says to me, Patrick, come in early tomorrow and we'll talk about it, okay? And I was trying to explain to him. I said, listen, I know that you're leaving. I know you're going to another store, but you know how hard I worked for you. The manager, the new manager, the new manager is not going to know how hard I worked for you. So for the time that we spent together, can you please put in a good word for me? Can you talk to corporate? Can you try to get me a raise, something before you go? Come in early tomorrow. I came in early the next day, and I'll never forget what happened. I never will. Guess what happened? He never came into work. No, he called out. His final day of work.
What a son of a bitch. He
never showed up to work.
What a son of a bitch. What a son of a bitch.
So told me to come in.
What
he basically,
what a son of a bitch. Bro, if I would have seen him in real life, just like randomly, like in the future, and like I see him, bro, oh my god. I would get my pepper spray and just start spraying him. I don't fucking care if people start fucking thinking I'm crazy. Just start fucking spraying him and just fucking leave. Because that's it, bro. That is fucking it. You brought out the crazy, bro. You brought it out.
Ghosted me, which is what it is. Did not reply to any texts, calls, nothing.
What a son of a bitch.
And the thing is, though, is that I'll never forget this. Is the supervisor who was working that day? He was he's a good friend of mine. He's actually still a good friend of mine. We don't really hang out, but we talk to each other. He was actually the one who invited me to his wedding. So him and his wife now, they were both supervisors. They're both great people. They invited me to their wedding. So the supervisor was a good friend of mine. He was like, saw that I was like in a terrible state that day. Like he was just like, he saw that I was really, really bad. And he remembered basically what had happened with me talking to the manager, but he wasn't aware of the manager basically ghosted me. And he says to me, he's like, Patrick, what's wrong? And I say to him, manager told me that he would talk to me about a raise, did not come in on his final day, did not attempt to contact me at all, nothing. I feel basically used. I feel like, this guy took advantage of me. And like, I'm honestly like about to cry right now. I am, because like, it's like, that experience, like I worked so hard for this guy. I did. And to just get treated like that, like all that stuff that I did, it's just, I will never forgive him for that. Manager, I'll never forgive him for what he did for that. If I honestly saw him right now, I would tell him to go F himself. That scumbag manager. Like, I don't really curse a lot, but I would be dropping F-bombs like crazy if I saw him again. Because like that, like
that's why I feel like, I would, if I just see him in public and I have a fucking pepper spray, just spray the fuck out of his fucking head. Fucking, if I'm able to open the goddamn fucking pressurized steak, throw it all over him. Like, bro, beat his fucking ass. Like, I swear, bro. Like, I know I would most likely go to jail, but it's like, fuck him, bro.
The fact that I helped him out so much and he did that to me. So my supervisor, who's my friend, overhears this. And he says, let me try to call him. Let me try to call him. And I said, I appreciate it, but don't bother. You don't have to do that. And you know what he does? He ends up actually calling the manager. He did it, even though I told him, don't bother. He tried to. And that's what I say is when people say that your coworkers are not your friends, I disagree with that. I would say that some coworkers are your friends because this guy was a true friend. He was. He saw that I was upset. He saw the manager scam me. He didn't like that manager also, and he got pissed the manager did that to me. And he tried to contact the manager. He tried to call him. Manager did not answer his phone either. So what he did was he called the assistant manager, and he asked the assistant manager because the assistant manager was friends with that manager, and they were both going to the exact same store. And the assistant manager answered, and he said, "Listen, manager said that he talked to Patrick today about a raise. He didn't come in. He's not answering his text. He's not answering his phone. What's going on exactly?" And what the assistant manager says? Assistant manager says, "You got to take it up with the new manager."
That doesn't know you?
That was basically it. That was the last interaction that I ever heard of that assistant manager and that manager. But he tried, and that's what I'll say is he did right by me, and he if you watch this video, you've been a good friend to me, and thank you for that. But that was he did right by me for that, and I never forgotten that, and that was a good thing. He just that simple, just trying to make it right, trying to call him, trying to demand, why he did that stuff like that. He could have gotten in trouble, but he did that for me because he saw how the manager basically just treated me like garbage, and he tried to go out of his way to help me. Really? Now the new manager, when the new manager actually came in, the new manager was actually a really nice guy, and this new manager is I liked him for the most part. I really did not have much problems with him. It was for the rest of the next few years that I worked, the more problems that I had was with corporate directly and with the supervisors. Some of the supervisors were scummy, but that manager, the new manager, was actually a way nicer guy. And I explained to him. I basically told him about what had happened, about how the manager basically scammed me. I explained the entire situation to him, and he actually took me seriously. And he was actually a bit upset that the manager did that to me. He barely knew me, but yet he was a bit upset about that. The manager did it, and also other people verified, what I had said.
Wow.
So what that manager did was he got me a raise. He did.
Wow.
He actually got me one.
Gotcha.
Now he couldn't go through
What a beast.
the proper, regular channels to get me a raise. There's no way to just randomly get somebody a raise when it's not their yearly review. But you know what he did to get me a raise is this guy was smart. This manager was smart. What he did, and I'm sorry for my camera shaking, my table. I just hit my table a little bit there. But what this manager did to get me that raise is he went and got me a promotion, not to supervisor, because like I said, it's that supervisor a scam. He got me instead of promotion to pharmacy cashier. And we had a pharmacy department also. But here's the thing. I didn't have to work in pharmacy cashier, and corporate didn't know that. So he could have gotten in trouble for what he did.
Wow.
But he basically had promoted me to pharmacy cashiers for my job title. But that pharmacy cashier, the pharmacy cashiers actually earned more than the store cashiers did. Because the pharmacy cashiers had a little bit more knowledge about medicine and stuff. I know they weren't like doctors, but they had to fill up, they were responsible for giving prescriptions and stuff like that. So they basically got paid a little bit more. And he had basically gotten me that title. And that was and I didn't have to work, and I never worked one day in pharmacy.
That's awesome.
The next few years I did not work one day in pharmacy.
What a beast manager. He's a beast. He barely knew you, and he took you seriously, and he felt bad, and pissed off at the other manager, and he gave you that position while not actually working at it. So you make the money, and corporate didn't need to know that. So that's what makes him even more of a beast. But you stayed just doing your regular cashiering. That's awesome. That's awesome.
He got me that raise. I was on my papers. It said I was working in pharmacy, but he did right by me. He did not have to do that. He could have gotten in trouble, but he did right by me. So this is what I say is that when people say that you have no friends in work, your coworkers are not your friends, it's not true. Some people are your friends. So there are people.
Like I said, my store manager, he that I have for the most part, because I had in my second store, I had two store managers three store managers. Wait, three? No, two, bro. I had two store managers, and the first store manager, he's kind of a fake guy. I was on his good side, and I was good. I made good by him, and he always said hi to me, and it was always all cool with me. But I knew he was a fake dude because he was that type of person where he'll be all nice and cool, blah blah blah. But then he wouldn't be a dick afterwards, but he'll do his own narrative. You feel me? He'll do his own benefit quietly and shit. And you could tell if you just analyze him long enough without him noticing, and just see him long enough. I mean for a long period of time, days and days of just analyzing him without him noticing you, and you see him, you would notice that he would make that switch, or you would see that shit in his eye. It was just not the discrepancy from his eyes to his mouth, his cheeks, you can his body language. You would start to see it if you paid attention long enough and know what you were trying to look for. But then my second manager, that guy is the one that was there for pretty much until I got fired. It was another he was there for about 3 years. More 3 years? No, about 2 years. About 2 years me working there. He was there the whole time, 2.5 years. The other manager, he was there for a very relative short amount of time. And I think it's because he was really just the store manager that was there to open the store, because my second store was a brand new store. So I was one of the employees that was there for the grand opening and stayed there for the grand opening, who stayed there and worked from the grand opening up until 3 years later that I got fired. So I who then got fired, and so I knew fucking everything. I knew pretty much all the managers that started and then got replaced as I was working there all that time since it first opened until I fucking left. And when it changed to this second manager, which I really fucked with, and I said that you can talk to him about pretty much anything under the sun, because he was kind of you can tell he's a 4chan user sympathizer, maybe not a user, but a sympathizer. He's a cool fucking based guy. that's a little bit red pill. Like he's fucking cool as shit. Um, he never really gave me fucking problems at all. Like he was a really genuine nice guy, and like he really like did really good by me. And if it were my regular manager that I said he was a piece of shit, that was the team leader for my original store. If he were the would have been the store manager for that store instead, bro, he would have been like the monkey from Toy Story 3 that just goes ding 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 and just checks all the cameras 24/7. I swear, I most likely wouldn't have been able to get away with half of the things that I did if it weren't for my awesome manager that just didn't look into it that much, because you don't have to be paid the same fucking salary yearly, dickhead.
And help you, if you need it. But also make sure you return the favor. If those people need help, make sure you do the same favor and you help them out. And yeah, that's that scummy thing with that manager, that first manager was talking about. But yeah, but my store, most of the people that work there don't work there anymore. And that good manager that I had, he doesn't work there anymore either. He's moved on also.
Right.
He's moved on to a different place. I think he works at a different store now, at a completely different company.
Like my good store manager and everything doesn't work there either anymore. So that's why like my shit isn't fully relevant anymore, because they don't work there, and none of the managers work there anymore. So
Company. But last thing I heard, that company that he worked at, the other one, is a way better company and treats their employees way better. The last thing that I wanted to mention here is probably one thing that I should have talked about earlier, but I'll leave it off for the end. Is self checkouts. Self checkouts. This is something that I really not have had much experience with, because when I actually left, that's right when they were coming in, like in 2019. But like now, years later, they're common. They're basically everywhere, all over the place. Now about the self
that's the
checkouts,
difference between me and him. Is like he started in 2013 and left in 2019. I started in 2019 and left in 2023. So when I first started working in the old store, yeah, there wasn't, since it was an old store and I started in 2019, like I was able to work at that store where like, okay, you had all the regular cashier aisles where it's like cashier aisle 1 through 8, let's say, that are just regular looking cashier aisles, and then there's two more aisles, extra ones, that were way closer to the entrance slash exit of the store, and those were express aisles. That's what they were called, express lanes. So only people that had like 10 or fewer items were supposed to go there, and it's supposed to be a way quicker experience because you have like, I don't think there's baggers there. No. Baggers weren't allowed there. So you didn't have baggers, but it's because literally the belt and the size of like the little thing that they were standing at was half the size, if that, of the regular cashier aisle. So you didn't have a bagger, and the belts were all small. But the idea was that you only had 10 or fewer items, so it would be way quicker area to go to for the customers that are only there for small item ventures. So they would just go through there and just go through the smaller little cashier lanes with the one cashier, and that's it. With the one cashier, and that's it, and then you just move on. But then what would end up happening, because there's no standards or very little standards, and it's kind of a circus, like I've mentioned and he's mentioned as well, where it's just confusing and nothing makes sense. A lot of people that had like cards that just visibly you could tell had about at least 20 items would go there too, and then everything would just get clogged. And then when I was like about 6, 7, 8 months into working in that store, they literally from 1 week to another, they ripped off those two mini cashier aisles and just put self checkout. Like I think 3 self checkouts, machine or 4, and that I saw that transfer happen in front of my face. Like that was crazy.
I hate the self checkouts. I don't like them. The only time self checkouts are useful is if you have like a few items. That's the only time they're useful. But if you have like a lot of stuff, it's always better going to a cashier, or you're rather interacting with a person.
Only reason I kind of liked like supervising the self checkout at my second store is because you would have the phone that they give you to make sure like like everything, like there's no interruptions going on, like on that screen that's like connected to the phone, and everything's running smoothly. And the idea is to make sure that people are scanning shit, not just putting stuff in the bags. Even though like sometimes it could happen, and fuck it, like what are you gonna do? Make a big deal out of something that's like that? Like just keep on going, bro. I'm trying to make my money. I don't get paid extra for stopping you, and I don't give a fuck. Like let's go. Right. And like you didn't have to deal with actually bagging or dealing with any money. Like the only thing you had to do was just supervise it, make sure it's running smoothly, and if someone needs help, you go and help them. If it's physical help that you need to help them with, you do it. Or if you can do it by the phone, you could, and then just move forward. That's what I liked about it. And you could be there for about an hour or 30 minutes or even longer than that. And the only bad part about it is that it kind of similar to that cashier position is that it starts wearing on your back. But like it was a lot better, simpler task, and you're being paid the exact same.
The reason I hate self checkouts is because with self checkouts is you have to watch out for everything that you bag, and you have to be very careful with everything that you bag. If you make one mistake bagging something, if you bag something that you thought you scanned but you didn't scan, you're going to get in trouble for that, and that's the law. The law is going to come right after you for that. So you can't say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I made an accident." They're going to go after you. That's why if I have to use a self checkout, I hate using them, because that's one thing I hate about Walmart is like near my apartment. Yeah, I have a Walmart that's literally like 2 miles from my apartment. So that's where I get all of my groceries pretty much. And so sometimes I go to Walmart when it's like 8, 9, 10 p.m. Right before closing. And I don't go like I'm not like one of those people that like goes like 20 minutes before closing, but I usually go the last I'll go is like an hour before closing. So I still am able. I always leave the store before 20 minutes before closing, if anything, so I don't waste the staff's time. But anyways, what I hate about Walmart personally is that later in the afternoon there's no cashiers working, none, and it's just all self checkouts. And when I'm getting groceries when I buy groceries to fill up my fridge for basically.
Since Walmart's such a big store, I mean, yeah, you need that person that like stands by the door and goes like that and shit. But if you're a worker, bro, like that has like only been God, bro. Like, come on, like please. And in our store, like regular working hours, yeah, you didn't have to deal with like having a person that has a little thing or whatever, because the idea is that, well, since our store is small enough, the self checkout is literally about a meter away, or like 4 feet away, 5 feet away from the exit, the first double doors automatic sliding door exit. So as long as you have somebody who's just looking, like that's it, bro. And obviously some shit can be overlooked, like, bro, you're not a fucking robot. Okay, you're not a robot, and that's not even your job description. You're not even really being paid for that specific thing. So what the fuck, So it wasn't as like strict because of how much smaller my store was, and because it's a grocery store and not that, and you don't have a dedicated person that goes like that and shit.
So I make like one giant trip and just buy like an entire cart full of groceries, like that entire Walmart cart. I just fill it up from top to bottom. Just so much stuff, and that I hate going to self checkout because then I have to scan everything and I have to double check everything, and I'm like spending like half an hour up there. Like I said, if you miss one thing on there, then you're basically liable for that. That's what's so scary. Is if you're being rung up by a cashier and a cashier makes a mistake, if a cashier makes a mistake and they actually they don't scan an item, you're not going to get in trouble for that. It would be better to go to the store and say, this wasn't scanned, but you're not going to get in trouble for that, typically in most places, because of the cashier who made the mistake. You didn't make the mistake. But when you're at the when you are at a self-checkout, if you make one mistake, my mom is terrified using self-checkouts for that reason, because she's scared she's going to make a mistake. She doesn't know how to use those machines too well. And so I don't blame her. I'm also terrified of them as well. I think that's
a lot of times, like the people that like me, that I said that sometimes it would be like tasked to supervise the self checkout and shit. We'll overlook shit, bro, and we're not trained to actually like look the shit, and we don't have a dedicated task to get the receipt and fucking try to judge it and shit. And the store's smaller and way more fast paced. Like it was way more lackadaisical and way more chill. like for you to like supervise it and also use it as a customer. Like you didn't have to be like, oh, I gotta make sure I scan everything. Like so shit would get overlooked and I get scanned a bunch of times in my store, and like nothing really, no recourse would happen from neither or end because, bro, there's lack of structure here already, and it's a fucking small store. Don't put your fucking your panties in a twist. You know,
like
like
stupid. And theft has increased way more in these companies being so cheap. And like I remember when self checkouts were coming out, retail workers were actually excited. A lot of retail workers were excited when self checkouts were coming out because they thought that they'd be able to get more people on the floor, they'd be able to get more work done. But the thing is, when the self checkouts came in, it had the opposite effect, where companies instead
but that's what was similar in my story. I had the opposite effect in that front though. It's like you thought, oh, now there's gonna be more time extra for more people and less stress on us. No, the opposite.
slashed the amount of hours, so they cut the hours even more.
Have less hours, so you have more stress.
Self checkouts have just increased shoplifting because it's a lot easier for people to steal, and also people accidentally make mistakes. People's hours have been cut, so I just generally don't think that there are a I just generally don't think that they're a good thing. Like I said, the only time I think self checkouts can be good is if you have like one or two things. But if you have an entire cart worth of stuff, it's annoying as hell using a self checkout machine. So that's what I think is the self checkout stuff is stupid. And when I would work in retail, when I would if a customer brought me up like
That's
five.
what's the fucked up part about my position is that okay, well I'm supervising and they're doing their own shit and it's more lackadaisical, so it's like you just basically reduced like those 6 machines or those 5 machines that could have been 3 to 4 individual cashier lanes into just one person mahomeno overlooking it. Like that's crazy how much money they're saving on that and not like putting it back for the workers, just lining their pockets. It's so fucked up.
For the same item, I would just take that one item and just scan it 5 times, click like that, and that's just so I can just throw it in the bag. I don't have to take each of the items and just it's the same item 5 times. But the thing is, if you do that at self checkout and you take 5 items, I've had it happen to me before where I just scan one item 5 times and I put the other 4, that one and the other 4 in the bag. What happens is the machine starts like going alarming, like possibly that I didn't pay for, and then a store associate has to come over and unlock the machine. I have to explain to them basically what had happened. That whole thing is just completely frustrating, and you have like basically like store associates that are like standing over there. Like I don't even know what's the whole purpose of that. Like wouldn't it make more sense of just being on the register, having like a chair for them? But it's like like I said, the whole self checkout thing is just a complete mess, and it's just really stupid. But that is pretty much it. That is my rant for retail. And the thing is, though, guys, is I could probably spend like hours and hours and hours just basically.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Like if I were able to talk to this guy, like bro, I was trying my hardest to not talk too much, but honestly, bro, I have so much to say about this specific topic, and I've never really spoken it to anybody or really had like a way to like express it fully. And since this guy is like making a dedicated video where he's fucking bringing out all this shit, I can comment on all of it and also talk about my own shit, and it gets brought up naturally like that. Like if you guys don't really feel interested on it, well, I mean that's what this thing is about. This is kind of what I dedicated this live stream to, and yeah, the video is an hour and 52, and this live stream has been going on for over an hour and a half. So like half of it has been him talking, the other half is me talking, and like I don't know if I can turn this into a video, but I mean, like I kind of enjoy that I made this because like this guy is making a very valid, justified video while I'm just here like kind of commenting on it, but also confirming everything he's saying and also kind of comparing it to what I went through personally, and also like adding my own specific shit that happened to me into it. So now you have another perspective on it. I know I kind of like paused a lot of times. I like very annoying specific in the middle of him saying something times, but I'm sorry, guys, but it's just I had a lot to say, and like I really related to this video, and it fucked with my mental health too. Retail slash being in a grocery store, I don't want to go back to it. My mom and my parents kind of don't really understand how much mental health tax it did to me, because my mom works in the back of like her store. She works at a warehouse, and she or like a retail store that's kind of like a warehouse, and she works in the back of the store where she's always like unloading stuff and like folding stuff and like never looking at customers or dealing with money or the cash register or really like traditional retail. So she doesn't really understand what's going on in that sense, and there's a reason why she didn't even pick that as her job because she just don't want to go through that because she knows intuitively that it's stressing as fuck. So it's like you gotta at least understand enough of why you're not there to know why I don't want to go back. And my dad, he's never worked in retail and none of those those specific positions. Like he's worked in grocery stores, but I asked like the guy who cuts meat in the meat department in that like cold room and shit, but like never as like a traditional cashier or bagger. So they don't really understand fully. But then a video like this plus my comments on top of it and stuff, I think is more than enough for them to understand. All right, fine, you don't want to go back, and you're not gonna go back because it's terrible. Okay, I got it. We're not gonna talk about it anymore. That's it, and we can just move on and do other shit like with my life, like other jobs that aren't that, you know. So because I'm only doing school right now. And it's like, well, I'm making money off of school and I don't want to go back to retail. So, slash going to a grocery store. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave this for now, guys. Like, this live stream is over 3 hours long. It's way longer, about literally over 2 hours longer than the first reacting live stream VOD that I made for you guys like a couple days ago. So hopefully you guys enjoy this to any certain extent. This can be watchable to any extent a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 later, where I continue making videos and I have thousands of videos and I hopefully am somewhere on YouTube and people are watching me, that when they're watching the second video, they're like, damn, like Emyll was here and like he was fucking talking about all this shit with like nobody talking to him or liking him or viewing his shit. It's like, I mean, I don't think this is really all that watchable, but like I'm trying to create something and like I care about my channel and I care about you guys and I care about what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna continue, guys. So you guys have an amazing day. Thank you for watching. This is gonna be the end of the live stream and peace out. There's a video being uploaded that I already uploaded today of like a guy doing an acid trip. That was pretty fucking insane. So be sure to watch that and dale.